How is everyone doing? How is everyone doing? How is everyone doing? Tap, tap, tap the screen. Tap, tap, tap the screen. Tap, tap, tap the screen. Tappity, 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 tappity. What up, E?
Hello, hello. There's the microphone.
Holy
Hello.
smokes, that is definitely a microphone.
It is. Can you hear me?
I can
Can you
hear
hear
you
me?
extremely well.
Oh, well, maybe you need to turn your volume down if it's that
Oh, you
loud,
know
because it's
what?
not that loud.
Maybe it is. Maybe it
What?
is me.
Okay. It's like,
Maybe it
what are we
is me.
doing?
What do you guys think? What do you think, chat? Is it me?
It's
Is it
you.
Erica?
It's you.
Am I loud? Is Erica loud?
I don't think that I'm loud. I can turn it down.
No, no, I'm maxing the chat.
Okay.
You have a bit of an echo though, as
Always
always.
and forever.
Always and forever. I'm loud? How am I loud? I have the mic down.
There we go. You're not like loud to me. It's just that if I'm coming
Yeah,
in really loud for you,
Erica
then it
has the
means
echo for
that
sure.
did I?
Or you fixed it.
It's not.
It's delayed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you shouldn't hear anything but our voices. All right. All right. All right. All right, guys. Let's get it started. It's time for late nights.
Yeah, this ain't your regular panel. Nah, we speak the truth. Late nights with Santana and Mama Jones watching. Better keep it clean. Let's go. Late nights, truth in the convo. Everybody get a seat at the table. From the block to the books, we mindful. No screaming, just dreams in the Bible. One mic, one voice, we build bridges from the heart of the hood to the world's big issues. Politics, pay, different cultures. But the real ones listen before they rebuttal. Late nights with Santana. Yeah, Mama Jones watching, so keep it grown. Ain't about flexing, this the purpose zone. Santana hold it steady when it might get hot. But we ain't here to fight, we here to connect the dots. Yeah, late nights with Santana. You already know. Late nights with Santana. Late nights, no static. No highlight reel, just the soul's reflection. No shade throwing, just connection. From streetwise truths to deep reflections, we turn hard talks into blessings. They say they run a game, we build new rules. We here to heal, uplift, and break the old rules. They kept us boxed in, divided by fear. But you find us lined up when the truth appears. Yeah, weekly topics, hearts wide open. No judgment, just motion. Real ones are talking, no cussing. Cause Mama Jones still watching, no frontin'. Yeah, late nights with Santana. You already know. Late nights with Santana. Late nights, no static. Yeah, Mama Jones watching, so keep it grown. Ain't about flexing, this the purpose zone. Santana hold it steady when it might get hot. But we ain't here to fight, we here to connect the dots. Mama Jones watching, so keep it grown. Ain't about flexing, this the purpose zone. Santana hold it steady when it might get hot. But we ain't here to fight, we here to connect the dots. Weekly topics, hearts wide open. No judgment, just motion. Real ones are talking, no cussing. Cause Mama Jones still watching, no frontin'. Yeah, late nights with Santana. You already know. Late nights with Santana. Late nights with Santana. You already know. Late nights with Santana. Late nights. Late nights with Santana. You already know. Late nights with Santana. Late nights.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome in, beautiful people. Welcome in to all of the amazing, amazing people that are here tonight. I am so excited, not only about tonight, but this weekend. First and foremost, I guess I got to start it off with what up, E?
Hey, Santana.
Are you out of practice? Has it been that long?
It's been that long. Like, what am I supposed to do here?
Holy smokes. All right, all right. Well, listen.
Santana!
Exactly. All right, this is what we're going to do, guys. We're going to go ahead and get it kicked off because the fact of the matter is that tonight, it's an all-star night. Tomorrow, it's an all-star night. Next Wednesday, it's an all-star night, and I have a panel of amazing creators that are joining us to have this conversation around toxic masculinity and male fragility. Without any further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and start bringing in a few of my special guests, and then we're gonna get other people in as well, because you know what? Late nights, the conversation is all about you.
Hey, Parker.
What's up?
Diava.
Hello,
Artifacts.
hello. All right, guys. Parker, how we doing?
I'm doing good. Just got some time off. I just went to go get food with my girlfriend and her mom. It was great. How about everyone else?
Wonderful.
Hey,
Diava.
Parker.
Facts.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. Diava, good to see you again, friend. Hey, Parker.
Nice to
Erica.
meet you. How are you?
Santana.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited, Parker. I watch you every day, I swear.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, honey.
Well, listen, we're going to go ahead and get started because we have a lot of people cycling in and out, and I know a lot of people do not have a ton of time, but we want to make sure that we respect everyone's time, and we also get an opportunity to hear from people. So with that being said, this is what I want to do really quick, guys. There's a few more of the special guests that we're going to start with, but if you are interested in joining the panel and you're interested in joining the conversation, go ahead and request up. Keep tapping the screen, share it out. This is going to be a massive 3-night event, and I'm so excited about it. That being said, Parker, I know you have a little bit of a time crunch, and I really appreciate you coming. I want to kick this conversation off with you. So, Parker, we have a couple of different things on the background that we're going to be talking about this week, including men and their emotions. And when I say men and their emotions, I really want to dive into why is it that men are more likely to have an emotional response when it comes to information they disagree. We're also going to talk about toxic politics and fragile society. That means we're going to talk about how toxic masculinity and male fragility has impacted our society and politics within the United States today. Red pill culture. We also have the point that says intersectional collateral damage. That speaks to the impact on all the different intersectional groups that are impacted by this male fragility. And last but not least, which is one of the most important things that I want to make sure that we dive into, is going to be helping hands, which that means how do we actually address all of the issues, right? One more quick thing. If you take a look at the actual screen, I don't have a nightly donation goal tonight. That means, and the reason being is because for these 3 nights, every single dollar that we raise through the pay links, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, sorry, YouTube, through the pay links will go to 2 charities that we've already designated. Number 1, Men's Mental Health, Movember. I hope I'm saying that right. Movember? Yes, all right. Movember. There we go. Horrible names. Second one is RAIN. So in RAIN is for survivors, women survivors of DV. So any and every dollar that we collect this week, Santana Speaks for You, through the pay links, we will be donating. And you guys know I don't do community gardens. I don't do buses. I will be posting receipts as soon as we make this donation. So I will make sure that we have 100% transparency. That being said, Parker, I want to come to you. And I know that you are not only one of the biggest left-wing content creators out there, but you are full into politics. And we've had this conversation multiple times before. We talked about red pill society. I think it's really even more apropos when you talk about this emergence of groypers and all of that. So I would like to hear from you. How do you think toxic masculinity has played a role into our politics? And even more so, how do you think it's affected the youth?
Yeah, I think that a lot of men have capitalized on the idea that men are disenfranchised by toxic masculinity in order to control them and to get them into be more likely to accept red pill ideology. So I really think that we need pro messaging talking about the different types of ways that men are specifically negatively impacted by the patriarchy
and how it's a byproduct of specifically the patriarchy and not other things, right? I think we need to specify to men so that they can understand that rather than blaming it on any other scapegoat they want to create, because these conversations aren't had, or they don't understand it from that perspective. So I really think it's because there's been a vacuum for explaining why men feel negative. It's really created a situation for right-wing ideologues to try to exploit that. And we just need to like take over the media space from the left-wing perspective and show people there are other explanations, right, that actually come from the left that are significantly better and more positive for our communities.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I guess the question I have for you, right, because you did talk about taking over the left and showing them that there's a real opportunity. Parker, you're a young man yourself. What was the line of demarcation for you as far as like, because you could have easily been one of those people that we're talking about that's on the right, the quote unquote red pillars, like. What kept you from becoming that? And I guess how do we reach them when they are all, or how do we reach them before they actually get there? I know you said, message, but like, is there anything specific that you can point to say like, hey, this is something that really resonated with me?
I want to say community. I want to say people I can look up to that especially have like people I can trust that have positions that, sort of broaden my understanding, is not just taking it from my own perspective or seeing it specifically in terms of everything that impacts me, but seeing it in a manner in which I can talk to people around me that have different types of perspectives that we're more progressive. For example, like my sisters being a part of my life and being incredibly good like role models for me definitely was very important for me progressing my views, especially more towards the left throughout like getting older and taking into account what everyone has to say. But it also took a lot of work from myself as well in being able to recognize this, because oftentimes I feel like, especially men, and we get into positions of privilege where we feel like we don't want to question those types of beliefs, and it feels almost like normal or like something that we should accept in terms of like a right-wing perspective, when in reality that perspective is meant to just uphold that level of privilege rather than recognize that through that level of privilege we can benefit everyone and we can use that to truly uplift everyone else. So I think that really it's about showing men that there are alternatives, showing younger men specifically that there are alternatives, and showing them how harmful, historically speaking, some of the other figures have been on the right towards them themselves in particular, and everyone else that they should care about.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think being able to actually address them and show them that it's bigger than just them is super, super important. Now, listen, I don't want to monopolize the questions. I have an amazing, and okay, kind of amazing co-host, Erica. And Erica, I want to throw it to you, right, for half a second, because Erica, you have a unique perspective because you are a mother of a young boy who is close to that age as far as the people that we're really talking about. And I would like to see if you have anything that you want to throw to Parker as far as like that whole idea of red pill, being able to stave that off from, the youth and things like that.
So, Parker, I would actually say, because you mentioned community, like, what did your sisters, what did they like? What are some things that they brought to your attention or made you see the light on that did help you understand that that just wasn't the path that you wanted to go down?
I think it was really just like having a space where I can have those types of conversations and I can critically analyze that perspective while taking into account sort of the perspectives of other people like my sisters. And I think really one thing that was foundational towards my perspective in terms of how I was changing was seeing, I guess, how pervasive misogyny is, especially targeted towards women within these spaces that are prevalent on the right, and seeing the impact that has on my sisters. And I mean, I'm not going to give the specific examples as myself, as that's like obviously extremely personal to them, but obviously it's hearing things that have happened to them in their life that have negatively disenfranchised them, and how especially people in positions of power who are on the right have been perpetuators of that specific type of rhetoric that is going to negatively impact them to a greater extent, and especially insofar as to put people in power who have harmed them particularly and perpetuate the same types of belief systems and even actions that directly have impacted them. Again, I don't want to go like anything into specific, but I definitely think that like that was a huge mechanism for change for me, was being able to have those types of dialogues, conversations, and realizing it from their perspective, which is something I was never able to do prior, because politics wasn't something that we talked about, like, growing up in a conservative Christian household in Iowa. We never had those types of conversations in like society with like our friends, or even in the context of family settings. So I think it's living in California, being in a liberal culture, and being able to have those conversations openly with like people that I have like loved ones and family members that I really care about.
Okay, so you would say that they provided a safe space for you to be able to express yourself and to ask those questions. Okay, and I definitely agree with that. I feel like I do the same with Bubba, provide him that space to freely ask those questions. And we actually had a conversation today about acceptance. So yeah, thank you, Parker. I appreciate that. I feel like I'm on the right track.
If I could speak in, if you don't mind me speaking in real quick.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say Parker only has like 3 more minutes, so I just want to see if anybody else wanted to kind of throw anything his way in that question. So go for it.
I didn't have a question for Parker.
Okay. Anything else anyone else wanted to chime in with? Because let's do this, because and just an FYI, there's certain people who have certain time restrictions, and you'll see that throughout these 3 nights. And so we're going to try to rotate them in and out and get them in as quickly as possible, and make sure that we respect everyone's time. So let's do this, because again, Parker only has a few more minutes, and I'll flesh it out with the rest of the panel. Parker, I'll leave you with this. Is there anything else that you would like to leave with the chat as far as dealing with this conversation for these next 3 nights? Any parting words of wisdom, or anything that you feel like is super important to call out when it comes to toxic masculinity or male fragility?
Yeah, I think that something that I would definitely like to address in terms of toxic masculinity, especially, is that it is important for men to express their emotions in positive and meaningful ways, especially with loved ones and family members. It's important for men to go to therapy and to talk to people and to work through their problems, and to not just let them seep up and, blow up at some point. There's too much of a culture that normalizes men like sitting on their emotions, and then at some point they blow up with it, and that's like something that's also normalized for them, is that like it's okay for them to blow up in that way, and like that's also something that needs to be addressed as well, which is I think of an aspect of toxic masculinity. But it's being able that you can express that, you can engage with people that are loved ones, that are people close to you, and those relationships can exist for you. You just have to build them up with people around you and develop those types of pathways to each other, working together. It takes work and effort. It doesn't just come and randomly. You're not just going to randomly, it's not just going to fall up in your lap. You have to build that up yourself and work with that with your friends and engage in those types of conversations. For example, and that's something that Santana and I, for example, have done off on the live streams. We've had conversations, we talk about our emotions, and it's really helped me deal with my emotions and being able to express them in a positive way, especially prior to the point where I was able to go to therapy, not just talking to Santana, but talking to my girlfriend, talking to my siblings, talking to all of my friends around me and people that are close to me. That really was extremely helpful for dealing with my emotions and dealing with how I feel. And I think that's also something that other people should take into account, is that they can do that too, and they can work on their emotions so that they can positively communicate with other people. Because at the end of the day, when you do not take those things into account, you're going to then be projecting all of your toxic and bad behaviors onto other people, when in reality, you should be reflecting on those and trying to do better.
Absolutely. Well, Parker, I know you have a hard out. I really appreciate you coming in and giving us just a few minutes of your time. Thank you so much. You're awesome. Thanks, as always. Man. I appreciate you, my brother.
Good seeing everyone. Have a great night, y'all.
Bye, Parker.
See you, man.
Have a good night. Give me a follow. I love you. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do. I think he's an amazing young man. I think he's perfect. I think he's perfect at what he does, because he gets a lot of young people, a lot of Gen Z who come up in his lives and talk, because I watch him nearly every day when he goes live, and he has conversations with them, and he does it in a compassionate way, a calm manner, and he shows them and models how to have a conversation without being aggressive, because social media, podcasts, YouTube, they like amplify hyper masculine role models like the alpha male kind of thing, and glamorize aggression and dominance and control. And I think that he's modeling for them every single day on how you can have these conversations without being like that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and it's interesting to me, especially in the sense that he's a young man who has, and we've had this conversation multiple times, and I'm sure everyone on this panel can appreciate this. The level of scrutiny and pressure and everything that occurs when you start to deal in the social media space, it's daunting. And to be able to do that at a young age, I know we have some people here that are younger as well. But like I always marvel at the fact that anyone that's younger has the ability to do this on a day in, day out basis. But with that being said, let me introduce the other people that hopped in, because we have some amazing people that have joined the conversation. And again, guys, we will be rotating other people in as well. We have different creators that are going to be here throughout the night. But I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. We've already introduced Diva Talks. We've already introduced Facts Still Matters. And we've already introduced my co-host, Erica Shante. But we have a few other wonderful people that have joined the panel. We have SoCal Smitty. What up, bro?
Smitty.
What's up, Smitty?
How are you guys, everybody, doing tonight?
Wonderful,
Good.
wonderful. Smitty, I appreciate you being here. We're going to get into it in just a second. We also have BPG. What's going on? How are we?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. We have Comrade B. Hey, Comrade. Or should I say B? Matter of fact, can we drop some B's in the chat? Can we get some B's in the chat?
The Buzzy Bees specifically.
Yeah. How are we?
I'm good. I hope everyone else is doing good as well.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We have Swan. Do I have to call you Daddy every time?
No, you can just
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Daddy
Yes.
Swan.
Would say yes.
My friend Swan. Hello. How are we feeling?
I'm feeling wonderful. I think it's definitely an honor to be here amongst all the panelists for sure. I have not met some of you, but I am definitely looking forward to hearing what you have to say about this topic. This is a topic that is very, very important, and I definitely have a lot to input as well. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And last but absolutely not least, the most impressive, sorry to everyone else on this panel. Sorry, I apologize. The most impressive person that I've ever met on this app, Adorna Lukes. Adorna, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks. How are you doing?
Wonderful. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get it started, and we're going to dive into the conversation, but I want to call this out real quick. Guys, just a reminder that we are taking up donations, any and everything that you send to the pay links, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Santana Speaks for You. Santana Speaks for You will actually go to two different organizations. One, for men's mental health, we're doing Movember. Two, for women survivors of DV, we're doing RAIN. So anything that you donate to the pay links, not super chats, YouTube, I love you, not super chats, but anything you donate to the pay links, we will be splitting that 50-50 to those two organizations. Couple of W's in the chat for Michael. Michael sent 40. Thank you so much for the 40, Michael. W's in the chat for Brian. Brian sent 50. W's in the chat for Brian. W's in the chat for Feisty. Feisty sent 80. Freaking W's in the chat for Feisty. And W's in the chat for Emily, who sent 1001. You're absolutely amazing. All the way from Germany. Okay. And W's in the chat for Kim. Kim sent 10. So guys, so far we've raised $190 that will be going to those two organizations. I also have some more information I'm going to be sharing with you guys, because the biggest thing that I want to make sure that we do with our time is not only ensure that we are engaging the conversation and figuring out ways to move this forward, but we want to make sure that we're providing resources. So with that being said, I know I told you about RAIN. I know I told you about Movember, but I also want to bring this to your attention. If you can see the screen, This will actually be, I'll be flashing this on the screen throughout the night and throughout the next couple of nights, just so you guys know, right? If there are any instances where you need help, if you're a veteran in crisis, you have the option of calling 988, option 1. There's also the National DV hotline that's active 24 hours a day, 24/7, 1-800-799-7233. And then also rain.org, they have a chat option. So just in case you can't actually call and speak to someone, if you need help, you can actually use that chat option. All right. Oh, it's a lot of commercial breaks. I promise you guys, I will try my best to keep those limited. Let's get into the conversation. I want to start with Diva. I know it's Diava, but I like calling you Diva. Is that okay?
The people that have been on the app the longest, I always went by Diva.
Mhm.
And then it just, when new people, it was like Diava Talks, but I go by both. If you subscribe to me, or, my subscribers, the name is Diva. So it all fits. It's okay.
Absolutely.
Either way. I actually like Diva.
All right. Well, let's get into it. I want to start with you, and I would love just to hear your opening thoughts on where we are as a society when it comes to toxic masculinity and male fragility.
Yeah, I think that I know I'm Gen X. My brother is Gen X. And I know that a lot of the people in the Gen X generation, which we then tend to do it to our children as well, not all of us, but some, there's very rigid gender roles. It was like boys don't cry, man up, be tough. It discouraged emotional availability and to show any type of emotion. And so I think that got passed down as they're raising their kids, and it's now become super toxic. Not that it wasn't always toxic, but when you add in social media and you add in the red pill and you add in Discord and you add in all these different outlets where it kind of trickles down, it just gets hyper inflated and it's becoming dangerous, actually. And I have a son who's about to be 12, and he's a huge gamer. And that's where a lot of these Discord chats, they start out gaming, and then they start to hear this language and the toxic masculinity and all of those things. And so I try to keep a really close eye on, he listens to his Discord server without earphones so I can hear what's being said, and stuff like that. And I think that's the only way we can, try to help monitor while they're young, while still allowing them to game. And I've heard some crazy stuff. And, I talk to him and I'm like, that's not right. That's wrong. They treat women online very bad. Women gamers, girl gamers. The moment they enter a game, they're like, go make me a sandwich and, stuff like that. And very, very, very misogynistic. And so I have to have these conversations often, just to keep reminding him that that's not good. That's not how you should talk about women. That's not how you should treat women, stuff like that. So the online culture has really helped amplify this a lot.
Yeah, no, I know that's something that has been very prevalent and even more so, it seems like it's become more of a thing. Again, I know you have a young son. Is that something that you deal with on like whenever Bubba is on the game or has access to his iPad? And what do you think? And then the floor is yours to move forward.
No. And the reason why is I think he was about 8 years old. His granddad bought him a headset for the PS4 when he had one. And there was an incident where an older kid called him a name, and I was not happy. And that older kid got a piece of my mind that day, and we were done with the headset from that point on. Bubba also has like just himself, who he is. He's very like he's very empathetic and very self-righteous when it comes to like justice for people, and so we can't. So we don't do Discord. He does do Roblox, so I keep it in check by monitoring like the chat. He doesn't do it with the voice thing on, so he can't hear people. And also there's YouTube, so I have to do a lot of monitoring, but we do a lot of talking about the things that he watched. Like I can give you guys an example. Today he was listening to a YouTube short where the guy like made a joke about men being smarter than women, and I was like, like just like what, like huh? And I was like, that's not a thing. And I was like, what do you think? He was like, well, men are. And I'm like, no, they're not. I said, research it right now. Research it right now. And I told him to research it, and he started researching. And I said, what did you find? Oh, well, there's no evidence that shows that men are smarter than women. It shows that there's actually equal playing field there. And I was like, okay, so are men smarter than women? No. Okay, then. Like that's what, like, I make him research every single thing, because what you're not going to do, you're not going to lie to my child. Yep. That's it. So we do a lot of that. So Diava, I do understand exactly where you're coming from. It's just, I really, really, really like just have those conversations in the moment with him. I can't wait, because of the way that my brain works. And I don't want him for a second believing any of that toxic stuff that he comes across online, because we can't protect them from all of it, but we can help them basically break it down, process it, and understand what is actually true.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I completely agree. And now I think Comrade, did you have your hand up? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is. Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to chime in on this as well?
Yeah, I was gonna add, like, with what Erica said, I think that's a really great idea. Like, recently I saw a video actually on my For You page of a mom who was like talking about how she realizes that her sons are gonna come into, like, they're gonna see these red pill talking points. They're gonna see the videos, whether it's at school, they're gonna hear people talking about it in public. It's just like at this point it's inevitable, like literally wherever they are. And so she would literally watch like these red pill videos with her sons and just actively like talk about it, say like who does this benefit, who does what they say benefit, who does it harm, like watching the videos with their sons, knowing they're going to see them regardless, and then getting them to deconstruct the videos as they're going through it with their mom, which I think is a really, really great form of harm reduction with these kids as well.
I've seen that. She's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to see it regardless. So I think it's a really great thing for like young boys to like have someone who's actually talking to it about them rather than pretending like they're never going to see it. So I love, Erica, what you were saying.
Awesome. And I definitely agree with you. And I want to pass it on to Fax, since we're talking a little bit about deconstructing. Like, Fax, how do you get, how do you talk about your emotions, and how do you get like your friends and, even, do you have sons, Fax?
I do. Two boys and a girl.
Awesome. And so I like, awesome, fantastic. So how do you get your boys to talk about their emotions?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I appreciate that. And if I could maybe mention the Trevor Project as well for members of the LGBTQI community who might be in distress. It might be another organization we could talk about while we're up here, please. So thank you again for having me, Santana. It's great. And Erica, thank you. I'm a bit of a unique perspective, just because I'm also Gen X. We always joke that we're raised on hose water and neglect, but that's fine. Different conversation for a different day. Because I grew up in, I grew up around, was in a lot of locker rooms when I was a kid, played a lot of sports, was conditioned to see the world in a particular way. But I was always, I disagree with what Diava said a little bit, because I consider myself lucky. The most important voice in my head when I was a kid was my mom's. Italian-American woman, highly educated, multiple degrees, and there was always this checking of how I approached the world before we had opportunities to look at viral videos. We would talk about interactions. So I felt very fortunate as what I see every single day, and I appreciate that perspective that I have. So my perspective on raising my boys, they're 23, 22, and my daughter's about to turn 18. In fact, in a half an hour, as a matter of fact.
Oh my goodness.
So it's wild. I'll let her know. So it's my kids are in that red pill zone like right now. So I mean, I raised my children on my own, and just I think about the opportunities that I could have missed. I'm grateful that I didn't miss some of them. Some of them I did, but we've talked about these kinds of things. I always push back something that Parker said earlier too that reminded me about how emotions, because men are taught, society says the only emotions that men can show publicly is anger and lust. And I'm a big believer in mental health. I mean, I was told early on about getting in touch with your feelings, and people who ever watch my lives, and Diaba knows me, and Santana knows me, Smitty knows me. I'm a blubbering fool, depending on what the conversation is. And I wish more men felt comfortable showing those emotions. That, I'm a big fan of emotional intimacy. So when you're raising your kids, especially your boys, because I speak about toxic masculinity and the patriarchy, obviously how harmful it is to women, but it's so incredibly harmful to young men as well. So my call to action for anybody who's watching this evening is, if you are raising right now at this particular moment in our history, parenting is so incredibly important. I think you're going to really understand your parenting chops. And I just think it's about paying attention, listen to your kids, and be involved in what the things that they're doing. I don't consider my children my friends. I know it's a controversial issue, but I'm their parent. I have a lot in common with my kids. We do lots of things together. We share a lot of great laughs together. We do tons of things. We're very connected, very similar: music, the arts, books, science, all kinds of stuff, but I'm not their friend. And I think that's a conversation that I think a lot of parents have to be willing to have with themselves in an attempt to try to get closer to the kids. Don't be their friend. Be their parent.
Yeah,
You gotta tell them, I'm not your little friend.
Yeah.
I'm not one of your little friends.
I'm friends with my kids now that are grown. I have a 31-year-old and a 28-year-old.
That's different.
My
Sure.
raising is over. So those kids, they're my friends now. We just can be friends. I'm no longer parenting, but since I'm still parenting two 11-year-olds who are about to turn 12, I can't be their friend. I have to be their mother.
Yeah, no, listen, you can hear it if you guys heard like the intro song. Even for late nights, it says Mama Jones is watching. Like, I'm still not at the point where I'm friends with my mom, and there's still that like line where I don't curse around her, I don't say certain things, but I think that's absolutely spot on, right? Spot on. In order to be able to guide your kids, you need to make sure that you have that structure, the boundaries, and just have that actual open lines of communication where they can understand, like, hey, you have the ability to come to me because I'm the person that's going to be quote unquote in charge of you, or to really help guide you. So I think that's awesome. I want to pop over real quick to BPG. BPG, I have to come to you because listen, Black women, right? Let's talk about it. Black women, of course, we can talk about the patriarchal system. We can talk about the impacts that toxic masculinity have on all of the different intersectional groups. But I would love to hear your perspective on how toxic masculinity and male fragility, because I feel like we're kind of skating over the male fragility, and I'm going to get into that one a little bit more. But how does that impact specifically different intersectional groups and also Black women in America today?
I think the way that patriarchy is structured is that it's so all inclusive that a lot of times I find myself having conversations specifically with Black men who don't see how they may ascribe to patriarchal ideas. And to me, it's frustrating because Black women tend to be closer to the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to how they are affected by patriarchy. There's a book. I'm always referencing books. I will probably reference about 1,000 books today. So just you can see I have my little library behind me. But there's a book called All the Women Are White, All the Blacks Are Men, but Some of Us Are Brave. And it's basically just talking about not only feminist ideas, but just like Black women's contribution to science, education, all these things. And when we talk about the ways in which Black women have intentionally been locked out of the conversation, locked out of the ability to make medical decisions for themselves based on being both Black and being a woman, based on being able to parent their own children, how they have been intentionally held back from parenting their own children by way of government interference, by way of domestic violence, there's so many just different ways that they haven't been able to do that. The way that they have been intentionally locked out of education and their contributions to education. patriarchy in and of itself is almost to me like COVID. It spreads so vastly, and Black women particularly. I always call to mind, especially since we just had the passing of the very very great Asada Shakur, about her experiences interacting with the Black Panther Party, and how, yes, we saw all these amazing things happening with the Black Panther Party. We saw these programs, you know, we saw the food assistance programs with the breakfast programs with kids. We saw, you know, people being able to get medical assistance. We saw the community being protected. But even within that, you still had Black women who were facing violence at the hands of the men who were essentially doing the protecting as well. It's a very unique experience. I'm very grateful that we now have a word for it. I often talk about two things: epistemic oppression and hermeneutic injustice, which basically just discusses how people are intentionally left out of contributing, you know, thoughts, ideas, even just words to what it is they are experiencing, and having even the concept of intersectionality to sort of stand in the gap and be like, okay, you know, yes, there is a such thing as being oppressed as a woman. Yes, there is a such thing as being oppressed as a Black person. But there is a line where those two things meet that needs to be addressed, that is unique to Black women and to their experience. I hope that answered the question. I don't know if I was rambling or not. I hope that actually.
Listen.
Yeah.
I got it.
You know what's funny? As you were speaking, I heard Fact saying, It just he was like, It reminds me of like when if anybody else grew up in the Southern Baptist Church, when the preacher started preaching, and then you got the person like, watch out now. I know that's right. Listen, that's exactly what I was looking for. That different perspective that actually speaks to, yes, we understand how things affects different people, but going down the rabbit hole as far as intersectionality and how that continues to impact, and the ways that the patriarchal system and toxic masculinity has limited so many marginalized groups. That is exactly what I was looking for. I know for a fact that you have your own experience when it comes to dealing with toxic masculinity on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. What do you think about what BPG just said? And again, I want to give you the floor after that.
I think that BPG was actually spot on. I don't think there's actually anything to add. I can only say that in society today, and having to deal not just with society, but also with politics being a major part of our everyday lives now at this point, it seems, I get the sense that a lot of men are just leaning into the misogyny and are leaning into, of course, the sexism and the hate, unfortunately. And I did actually want to pose a question to Smitty, if I could. Yeah. Hi, Smitty.
How are you, Erica? So good to see you.
Good to see you too, love. Thank you for being here. Hey, so I wanted to talk to you about that because with, red pill ideology being so prevalent within our society today, it seems as if it's kind of like even permeating into our political spaces. What impact do you think that this way of thinking, this male fragility, is having not just on society, but also politics?
That is a great question. I'll definitely answer that and then maybe get into a little bit of my own story. But I think it impacts us in terms of politics. And I've said this before. You've heard me say this. I'll speak about what I see in male fragility actually on the left as opposed to on the right. The way that I see male fragility on the left is, unfortunately, a lot of men on the left have the right ideas, but the wrong levels of priority and optimization. What do I mean by that, right? A lot of men will say, hey, you know what? I think it's wrong what's happening to these undocumented immigrants. However, their priority and their urgency isn't where it needs to be. It isn't at the same level of the urgency as a kid whose parents are being ripped away at a graduation, right? And so that fragility comes into play in that perspective. It also comes into play when you have very talented, again, on the left, women who don't get their voices heard because of male fragility, right? And that quote unquote threat of being outshined. And so it impacts, again, us in the political space because we don't get our best and brightest out there to shine. So hopefully that makes sense. And that answers your question. That's where I see it. Exposing itself, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. But I'll be honest with you and just kind of roll into what I was going to say is, Santana, brother, when you contacted me about this panel and about this subject, I have to tell you, man, in some ways, I don't feel necessarily qualified to be here because I've lost a son to toxic masculinity. I have a son who is a victim who embraces, unfortunately, toxic masculinity. So maybe I can be the warning to those who may not think this is a big deal or may not think that this is something that is a crisis in this country, and it absolutely is. I have a son who was a former athlete. He played football. We tried to model, being able to talk to us in the home, being able to be communicative, all of that good stuff, right? But there are so many ways, and I know you guys touched on gaming and gamers and all of that, and I can tell you in locker rooms and athletics, the level of toxic masculinity is 100 out of 10. And, we moved to a really nice neighborhood. My son went out of that neighborhood to go and find problems wherever he could because he felt like in order to be a man, he had to go, assault someone or go threaten someone or whatever it may be. And so I want my piece of this to be a warning to those that, again, may not think that this is a big deal. And so I think part of being, a quote unquote man or a quote unquote person is in these situations, right? Being vulnerable. And so I'm going to be vulnerable tonight and tell you that this can happen at any moment. It seemed like one moment we blinked, he was our sweet little kid, good kid. The next moment he was completely lost. And even to this day, there are some moments where okay, my son is back. And then the next moment he's out doing something really stupid. And so it is a very, very serious issue. I cannot underscore it enough. The mistakes that I think I made, right, was being too trusting with the folks that he was around, with the friends that he was around when he was outside of the house, when he was at practices, right, when he was at school. I think I was a little too hands off. If I could have it over again like I am with my younger son, I'm a lot more hands-on. I'm a lot more involved, right? I'm interviewing the parents of his friends for my younger son. I didn't do that with my older son, right? And my entire family is reaping the negative consequences. It has ripped our family apart. And so I can only serve as a warning. I cannot serve as an expert. I can only serve as a warning on this panel, but I wanted to share that story so that those who, again, may think that this is not something serious, maybe they may have a change of heart.
Yeah. Smitty, can I just say I really appreciate your transparency, your humility, and your vulnerability, man. And you and I are friends, and that's one of the reasons why. So thanks for doing that, bro.
No, spot on. And I'll just say this really quick. I think that your perspective is unique and it's important, and it's something that everyone can actually or need to hear. One of my favorite quotes is a smart man learns from his mistakes, a wise man learns from others' mistakes. And if you can, it's kind of like the conversation I have with Brett Cross all the time when he comes up and he talks about, gun violence and gun reform and all this other stuff. And we talk about this and we say that, Brett talks about his experience with his family. So hopefully none of us have to go through that experience with their family. And Smitty, you being able to open up a vein and share that with everyone is mind-blowingly insane. I apologize. I didn't know that about you before. I asked you to join the panel. I just said, hey, Smitty is someone that I think is a great example of like emotional regulation and what men should strive for and things like that. And then, having you open up the vein and share that is, thank you. BPG, I know you had something that you wanted to say, and then I am coming to Comrade B for something next. Sorry, go ahead, BPG.
Yeah, What he said was absolutely powerful. I'm very grateful that he did actually share that. I teach eighth grade, so I have a lot of conversations with boys between the age of about 11 and 13, and I have two sons who my oldest son is 12 and my youngest son is 11. What he's talking about, there was one thing that he said that really just pierced, and it was, you know, being able to recognize that it could happen at any moment. The conversations that I hear with my students, because I'm teaching film to middle schoolers. So a lot of what we discuss is social media. A lot of what we discuss is gaming. A lot of what we discuss is conversations around current events and what's happening. I actually take some topics that I see on TikTok and I ask them how do they feel about this. And I'm not too shocked about some of the answers that I get, but some of them get very gritty and it's almost jarring, the idea that even at this very young age, because they're not big kids, they think they're big, but they're not big kids. There are boys who have already adopted a lot of these ideas and very quickly, and some of them, it's not a matter of them coming from the quote unquote nuclear family. It's not from them coming from a good home. It's not from them having parents who aren't hands-on. I have students who have parents, if I call them, they're answering at the drop of a dime. They making their way up to the school, whatever support I need, but they still have students who are adopting ideas based on how other students are and based on being involved in the game world. And I think that what he talked about is for sure a lesson for honestly all of us to just be hyper aware of how much these ideas permeate into society and how quickly they happen. Because a school day, they have enough time within a school day, I promise you, between the bathroom breaks, the lunchroom, and a little bit of recess, to be able to share these ideas with each other. It is crucial that, as the adults in the space, that we, constantly are correcting and checking, but also having conversations with them about which way they need to be going and which ideas are harmful, so that they don't feel the need to try to fit in with their peers, because that's a lot of what it is. So I just wanted to share that little part.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that a lot of people don't understand. Well, I guess they do understand how impressionable kids are, but I think a lot of people think that kids they get it from like TV or adults or whatever, but they like the amount of who they are, what they're susceptible to, comes from their peers a lot. And that's something that we need to be focused on. I think that's why it's so important as parents that we continue to communicate with our kids, continue to have those constant conversations. Even like Erica said, grab those headsets from them and like, hey, you got to play this out loud, right? Like, I think that's super important. Let me do this real quick, couple of quick commercial breaks, and then Comrade, I'm coming to you. And then we want to hear from Swan, Adorna, and then we're going to open this up because I know I was about to say Diva and Fax. I know you guys had to kind of cut out quickly, or actually, Diva, were you about to say you got to go now?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll probably drop in about 10 minutes,
Okay.
just because it's almost midnight here on the East Coast.
Okay.
Um,
Well, this is what we'll do really
but
quick. Let me run this commercial break, and then actually I'll come to you
okay.
first, Diva, because I would love to hear your thoughts overall on this topic and where you are, and then we'll come to Comrade Fax. You let me know if you get closer to your time because I know you have to go early. Smitty, I know that you were making time for us, so you let me know as well, and then we'll just continue to go. And then also, I know there's people in the box. We will be getting people in that are in the box, so just hold tight. So I promise you, we're gonna move this thing along. All right, really quick, I have to call this out, guys. Just a reminder, if you take a look at the screen, let me put this back up here. Sorry. Got to put that back on. We've raised so far $190. Guys, there's 1.2 thousand of us hanging out here. If everybody just send $1, just $1 to the pay link, we can continue to actually support these two amazing causes that we're raising money for. Number one, men's mental health, Movember. We're looking to raise money for Movember. Number two, for women survivors of DV, RAIN. So all of the donations that we get for Cash App, PayPal, Venmo will go towards those two organizations. YouTube, sorry, not on YouTube, but you guys showing love on YouTube. I do want to say thank you. And W's in the chat really quick for why is this jumping around? For Silent, who sent a $19.99 YouTube super chat, and also Molly, who sent a $3 YouTube super chat. But with that being said, anything that you guys donate, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, will be going towards those amazing programs. Last but not least, I do want to actually get this back up on the screen because I will be flashing this out throughout the evening. I want to make sure that I continue to call this out because the purpose of tonight is not only to talk about the things that are harming society as far as toxic masculinity and male fragility, but it is also to raise that money for those two wonderful causes, but provide help when needed. One thing that I do want to call out is I apologize. I'm going to correct this. 988 is a crisis hotline, but if you're a veteran, you can actually select option 1. So I will correct that as well. But thank you for the call out. So 988, that's crisis hotline. If you're a veteran, you can specifically dial option 1. National DV hotline, 24 hours a day, is 1-800-799-7233. Rain.org, they have a chat function just in case you actually want to be able to reach out to them and you're unable to actually get on the phone and speak. And the Trevor Project, I checked out their website. They have chat, they have online chat, they have text, they have phone calls. If you actually follow this link that's on the page, you can get directly to that help page and you can actually find all of those ways that you can get help. So again, guys, if you're someone that's struggling with any type of issues and you need any type of support, make sure you grab this information and we'll continue to talk about this throughout the night. Last but not least, show some love to the wonderful, wonderful panelists. Please, if you got a couple of coins and you want to actually make it rain on the panel with a couple of coins, please consider doing so. And we will continue to move it forward. Diva, I want to come to you because
Yes.
the way that you deal with these toxic men, they always come for you. It's so weird how they always come for you. But I would love to hear, just overall your thoughts on this subject and anything that you would like to leave us with before you have to take off.
Yeah, I think it's especially the red-pilled gentlemen think that they're gonna, come talk to this old lady, as they call me, that they're gonna come, they think I'm dumb. They don't think I know what I'm talking about. They think that they're smarter than me and better than me and all of those things. So I seem to get a lot of the misogynists, a lot of toxicity. But I let it roll off my back, to be honest with you, or I just give it back. I mean, not give it back, the toxicity, but I don't let them talk all over me. I'm very confident with what I do. Does it bother me off air? Yeah. But when they call me names,
Wait, how do you not because and not only for you and I know I said I had an order, but I would love to hear from all of the women on the panel on this one. Sorry, SoCal. Sorry, Facts. I was about to say Steve, but I want to hear from the women.
I just have to jump in a few minutes, Santana. I just want to throw that out there. Just
okay.
You mentioned that just to let you know. Sorry.
Perfect. Really quick, how do you guys not let this be something that continues to linger and you continue to actually deal with it once you get off this app, because it doesn't stop? I don't see how you guys deal with that.
I consider the source. I literally just am like, these are people that if I don't, okay, I consider the source. I literally just am like, they are awful people. They're vile. They're usually grotesque and racist. And I'm like, I don't care what they think of me. And I honestly, that's how I deal with it. I just consider the source. I don't allow it to bother me because, I don't, if I care about you and you'd give me some feedback, that would probably hurt my feelings because I care about you or I have respect for you. Like if Steve told me, you're really stupid, you're ugly, that kind of stuff. That would hurt my feelings because I care about Steve and I care about what he thinks about me. But I think it's just I've compartmentalized where I just consider the source that, and I humble them right away. I'm just like, I don't allow men to speak over me, and it's not going to start with you. And I don't let them speak over me, and I make them either respect it or I move on. And some of them will, most of them will calm down, be like, oh, you're so tough. But it kind of humbles them down to like, I'm not going to put up with this. And some of them will back off, some don't, but that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did any
I
of the
think it's just
other ladies?
yeah.
Absolutely. Did any of the other ladies want to jump in on that question really quick?
Adorna?
Yeah,
Oh, sure, yeah. I was gonna say that I just try to understand the reason why it's happening. I think I do think that when people and men in particular in this case see someone that they visualize as confident or that has something that they think that they don't have, the feeling is that if someone else it's almost like a competition. If someone else is winning, then I must be losing, right? And I think that especially when we think of toxic masculinity, the idea here is that men should be the ones winning. So I try to take into consideration the reason why, and I talk a lot about race, but in this case as well, it has to do a lot with implicit biases and just understanding the reason that one of the reasons, at least, that groups are marginalized is the messaging that's put out in society. So almost trying to think of it as programming and indoctrination, and then realizing that they don't even realize why they're doing it and going from there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right.
You wanted to say something? Oh,
said-
wait, I want to hear from all the ladies. What are we doing?
Well, I was just about to say really quick, we will, but I know Fax has to jump, and I know Diava has to jump. Fax, anything else that you want to leave us with before we let you go for the evening?
Sure. Again, thank you all for having me. This has been great, and I'd love to come back if you need more time. I would just want to say this, and I talk about this often, a system that's built by people who look like me to benefit people to look like me, that protects people who look like me. Therefore, the people who look like me need to be the ones that are out there fighting back against it. So I have these conversations with white men all the time that the problem lies with us, and I'd love to see change. I'm hoping. I'm genuinely concerned, to be honest. I mean, I'll be brutally honest. I'm genuinely concerned about that, but that's why, like I mentioned earlier, parenting is key. Talk to your kids, talk to your boys, talk to your girls. Let them know that it doesn't need to be this way. And I say at my show every single day, do better. We have to do better. Not only I don't want to make this grandiose statement about how our future depends on it, but our future depends on it, literally. I want to thank you all very, very much. This has been an honor to be here. Santana, thank you so much for reaching out. It's great to see you all. Thank you guys very, very much. I appreciate y'all very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Fax. Thank you so much, Diva. I appreciate both of you saying yes and coming to hang out and joining us. You are both so amazing. All right. I know.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I know Comrade had her hand up. Comrade B, I didn't know if you wanted to jump in on that point or the question around what we were just talking about. I also have something else for you. And then also any of the other, Swan, BPG, I don't know if you guys want to answer that question as well.
Yeah, I actually have to go too. I'm in the process of grading papers.
Ooh, okay.
Which is what I was supposed to be doing. Hopefully nobody sees me on here and is looking for a grade. But yeah, as far as dealing with particularly fragile men online and like how to handle that. I think it's interesting to me. I've had a lot of men send me great threats, some on live, some while we're actually live. I've had a lot of men send unaliving threats, inboxing me, which to me is already odd because why would you send that in a message where somebody can like screenshot it and say, I don't know what the point of that would be. But I honestly, for me, I think it's a combination of things. I'm not particularly bothered by men online. I tell people often that I was raised on the east side of Detroit. in what would be considered, I think they called it the red zone, I'm not disturbed by a man online. Like I've likely seen worse. It's not. It's just not. It has to sort of roll off my shoulders, if I'm honest, because to me the work is just way more important. Like being able to help people to see, to understand, to give a voice to people who I know. You know, I'm a feisty kind of girl. You know, I know everybody doesn't have that, and I feel almost obligated to be that for people who don't feel like they can do that, or for whatever reason don't do that. And I think with a lot of these guys, like Adorno was saying, when you know kind of where it comes from, you know, they expect, especially women who look a specific way. I'm 1,000% sure that the women here can relate. They think that the encounter with you will be different because they see sort of how would I put it, like a phenotypical, this is the only way I can really think of the word to put it, woman, and they think that they can make you fold. And the idea is
You can say
it's the
black.
same process. It's the same process. It's the tug of war for power, except especially particularly dealing with Black women, you had better be prepared to deal with somebody that's very, very powerful. And I think the last thing I'll say is too is I'm very much like Adorno. I've listened to Adorno in quite a few lives. Her sarcasm is top tier.
Yes.
As mine as well. If I'm honest with you, like I don't, you know, I had a guy who told me the other day, like, oh well, you know, you just, it's the problem is that you just hate men. And I'm like, sir, like, yes, go with that. But like let's explore why. Let's get down to why. And that honestly, it immediately, like it disables them very, very quickly. I don't know why it does. Maybe it's because it hurt. But it disables them very quickly. And I think being able to like sort of unplug from the idea of like this man, I know what he desires for me, and is to watch me fold, and it's for him to see me crumble. I won't give him that satisfaction. So I have no choice but to sort of program in my mind, he's an NPC. He's going to glitch if he doesn't see me fold. I leave it at that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, BPG, I want to say thank you for coming up and joining the conversation, and especially, you know, taking away from time grading papers. I really appreciate you, and even more so how quickly you were willing to say, yes, I'm in on this conversation. That means so much to me. So thank you for coming up and giving us some of your time, and being so amazing up here with us. And, you know, we're doing this for another 2 nights. If you get a little bit more time, come back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't have anything to do Tuesday. Hopefully these kids will have grades by tonight, so I won't have anything to do tomorrow.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Have a great night, love.
Comrade, I know you have your hand up. Coming to you.
Yeah, I honestly like, I mean, if anyone here has ever watched my lives, I'm sure you can see that I get a lot of the nasty reactions. And at this point, like I've really realized that regardless of how your tone is, regardless of how you act, when you're having feminist topics in your background, I feel like regardless, that's always how you're going to be spoke to. There's always going to be men who are going to come up and who are going to be upset about it. You can be as nice to them or as nasty as you want, and their behavior really doesn't change. There was a book that I read recently that was called Men Who Hate Women by Laura Bates, where she kind of, in the book, she details how she went undercover into like incel communities. And even in those spaces where these are men that don't often really interact with women at all, they still hate us. And so it's kind of just coming to a point where there's this phrase that I almost want written on my forehead that's let this radicalize you rather than lead you to despair. And at this point, that's kind of how I've taken coming on the internet and dealing with the toxic masculinity, is I'm going to let this radicalize me to keep pushing for justice for women rather than allow men who are threatened by smart women, men who are threatened by women who are assertive, to lead me to be silent and let them push me into not wanting to come onto these spaces and not wanting to be outspoken and, you know, have myself be heard. So yeah, I honestly, I think same thing with kind of Diava said. I really don't value their opinions. I don't really value what they have to say. If like it really is just a moment of them coming up, seeing women who are assertive, fighting for their rights, fighting to be heard, fighting to be liberated, and that pisses them off. And if, that leads them to want to give me like unaliving threats, grape threats, that says a lot more about them and the person that they are than it does about me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that says a lot. And comrade, you kind of stole my thunder there as far as what I wanted to get to ask you. But you know what? I'm gonna shift it just a little bit more because like I do understand like how you actually compartmentalize and how you deal with those actual men and their toxic masculinity, but I guess the question that I kind of want to shift it to and get an understanding about is um like male fragility, right? And so for anyone that didn't see it today, I just so happened to be making like a press junket. I was jumping around to the different lives and talking to the different creators that were going to join the panel. And I hopped in on Comrade's live, and she had a guy who you could tell that he was trying to debate her, but he didn't really know much of anything. And literally, you could see how fragile he was, even though he tried to put on this whole attitude of like, oh, I know what I'm talking about. I'm right. I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna teach this woman what these things are, and I'm gonna win this debate. And then he got up on your panel and realized that you weren't talking about feelings. You were talking about data, facts, like actual empirical evidence. And he wasn't prepared for that. And he kind of wilted and started to go back to feelings. Why is it that you think that so many men who subscribe to toxic masculinity are also so fragile when you push back on them in certain ways, they kind of wilt?
Well, I feel like a lot of them, like, that engage in red pill spaces in particular, watch the red pill podcast, listen to men like Jordan Peterson, any of like the big men that are in red pill. They hear the talking points and they hear constantly these talking heads talk about how women are small, women are meek, women aren't very strong, like, all of these perceptions that they have against women, that they come into these spaces, one, no, like they don't have facts. They really just have, I heard this on a podcast somewhere, and I've had multiple men admit to me on live that they haven't actually ever like looked at these sources. They just heard it and they just are spitting the talking point. And then that's what happens when you came in today. I asked them, what is your evidence of this? They don't have any. They never really do. And so I think it comes from a point of, one, them thinking that women aren't going to push back, that they can come up with their big man voice and say, well, this is how it is. And that women are just going to say, okay, I guess that's how it is. And then when they actually start to get pushed back, that's why, again, same thing with the guy today. They're like, this is a debate. Why are you asking me for sources? Like, what?
Yep.
What do you mean? And why am I asking you for sources in a debate? Like, I fear that's how debates work. But they just, I think that they hear these people that they see as authorities talking about these subjects, and they think that immediately that's true. They don't take the time to look it up. And then they come on the internet talking their shit. And when they're asked for evidence or asked to prove it, it's embarrassing. And obviously, like, embarrassment is not an emotion that's seen as socially acceptable for men to feel. So when they feel embarrassed, it turns into anger, and then that's when they start calling me slurs and threatening grape and unaliving. It feels like it goes into that circle. I mean, never ending, pretty much.
Yep. I think that it just shows like who they are, and it's always interesting hearing these men interact with different women or just different people in general, because it's not just like and I want to make this perfectly clear. When I say men, I include myself, right? And there's an opening line that I put in the video: the most fragile thing on earth is the male ego. I have the male ego, so I put myself in that category. But it's learning to actually deal with the emotions and learning to deal with that fragility, and how do you best handle it. And I try to be as best as I can, but I'm not always perfect. And so I do look at the situations where other men tend to lean into it, and I have a little bit of a hard time understanding why they're doing so. All right, so this is what I want to do real quick. I want to introduce the new people that just joined the panel, and then I want to kick it over to you because, again, I would like to kind of double down and hear your thoughts on like the whole fragile men type thing, and then we'll keep it moving. So, really quick, we have Amanda Informed, Hey, Amanda.
Hey, how's
Hey,
it going?
Amanda.
Wonderful, wonderful. Listen, I'm gonna do this now in front of like 1,000+ people or whatever because, I appropriate different sayings and different terminology, and I'm not a culture vulture, but every once in a while I hear something that piques my interest, and I grab onto it and I can't let it go. And for anyone who has ever heard me talk about the fifis and the tum tum, that is an Amanda original, or at least in my opinion. That is literally who I swagger jacked that from. And so when you hear me running around these streets talking about fifis, that's where I got it from.
That's hilarious. I always say that.
Yeah, no, listen, I remember you said that, and like when you said that, I was like, holy smokes, I love it. Love it. Love it. And it makes him so mad. Anyway, all right, next we have Beauty is Fit. Now, guys, this is Alicia. This is Alicia. Alicia is Beauty is Fit. Alicia, I owe a public apology. I know I apologize in public, but I'm sorry, in private, but I want to do it in public because Alicia was one of the first persons that I reached out to. And not only one of the first persons that I reached out to, but one of the first people to actually reply and say, yes, I'm in. And so when Alicia said that, I did like I did everyone else, right? I took her name down, I grabbed the profile picture, I got it all set, and I made the video, and I had a spreadsheet, and somehow I scrolled past her name, and I forgot to mention that she was going to be one of our special guests. And I feel like crap because I forgot to put her in the video, but she is here. She is absolutely one of our special guests, someone that I personally asked to be here because I appreciate her insight on this subject. She's absolutely amazing, and I'm just so grateful that, one, she even showed up after I did that, but two, she didn't hold it against me. She blamed it on my head, not my heart, and I appreciate her so much for that.
It was no big deal. I honestly was like, oh, maybe there were too many people who signed up. I was like, it was no big deal at all.
No, I again, I'm so sorry, but I really appreciate you still coming. And again, you're my special invited guest, and I'm gonna hear from you in just a moment. Last but not least, we have Jillian. Jillian is the first person that is not technically one of the invited guests. She is someone who is just a part of the late nights community. Yes, yes, yes. People that are in the request, we are starting to cycle through different people that are in the request. So if you're in the request and you want to join the conversation, you want to join the panel, hold on tight, stay there. We're going to start getting more people in. So Jillian, how are you this evening?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Let me flip back over. E, really quick. I want to hear any thoughts or yours on male fragility, and then the floor is yours.
We talked about a lot. I think I should have been taking notes. But you mentioned how we deal with it. I'm just going to be perfectly honest. Like, I mean, like on a normal day-to-day basis for me outside of this app, I don't necessarily have to deal with that toxicity. But like on this app, dealing with it, sometimes I'm just the a-hole. I'm going to lean into it. I'm leaning into your nonsense because I want to put on display like how awful, how deplorable you really, really are when it comes to these men sometimes. So I'm going to lean into it. Have I been taken aback sometimes where I'm like, whoa? Yes, I have. And I process that by talking to my friends, my family, and like helping me break that down and to not necessarily understand it because I already know where it's coming from. Also, in regards to something that B said, she mentioned that they get upset because that embarrassment turns into anger. I kind of have a more simplified view of it all. These men don't have anyone to talk to. They don't have anyone. So they hear something, they have a feeling about it. They want to be able to express that feeling and they want an audience to express that feeling too. And so they hop on these platforms and, oh, I'm going to express it to this woman. All right, I'm going to express it to her because, women are nurturers. Women listen, right? And so when they come across a woman who is not going to take their feelings at face value and actually wants to discuss facts, that's when they become angry. They look at us as their, their unpaid psychologists. I always say on my live, like, I'm not your therapist. All right. I'm not your therapist. So, no. All right. Let's talk about facts because to be perfectly honest, I don't care about your feelings. So there's that. And I think also for me as a Black woman, there is an intersectionality there where it's not just leaning into the misogyny, but also the racism. And I want to go to Swan for this one. Hey, Swan. Hey, Daddy Swan.
Hey, Daddy Swan.
Hey, love. I want to ask you particularly, like, when it comes to male fragility, like, when it comes to it, how do you go about handling that intersection of being a Black woman and having these conversations with these people, whether it be online or off, and how does that, like, how does that impact you? How do you deal with it?
So offline, I don't really have to deal with it too much because I get to choose who's in my who's in my
Exactly.
immediate space. But online, it depends on what I'm dealing with. Sometimes we have somebody that I feel as though I can reach and I can have a discussion with them. But it's not going to be to the extent of me like putting in that labor for them specifically. Especially being a Black woman and being a dark-skinned Black woman, we know that there's a completely different experience that we have online, no matter who it is that we're dealing with and talking to. There's going to be microaggressions right out the gate. There is this, like, I don't think people think about or take into consideration the fact that dark-skinned Black women are met with aggression constantly, and our value is measured through our servitude towards others, right? I'm just not going to give it to you. You're not getting my servitude. I'll definitely, one thing I think is really important for me is to never let anybody knock me off my square. So they can get enraged and as angry as they want to. I'm not your mother. I'm not here to parent you. You're not going to knock me off my square. I'm going to stand my ground and say what I need to say. And if you're going to be disrespectful on my platform, I have the ability to drop you. I have the ability to mute you. And I will do that if I need to. I also have an all-star team of women that surround me too. So I cannot take all the credit. Shout out to Mimi, Adorna, any woman that has joined my space. I appreciate y'all so much. Yes, and Kim as well, everybody. But yeah, I think that's, for me, I've accepted that I'm going to be met this way in society, and I have to be prepared for what comes my way. It's to be expected. And I will not necessarily, I don't think that we ever need to congratulate a man for doing the things that he should be doing and being respectful and things like that. But I will say, hey, this is a good conversation. I don't mind saying something like that along those lines. Will I say, oh, wow, you were such an amazing man. You didn't yell at me. You didn't scream. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. But if we can have a decent discussion, I'll just say I enjoyed the discussion. But it's a lot. But I think for me, the way that I've been able to deal with it personally is it's to be expected. I'd be doing myself a major disservice if I logged on and started my live thinking that people were not going to come at me with aggression right out the gate. And it's not just men either. It is not just men. It is women. And particularly,
Yes.
I would say that white women tend to meet me with that aggression as well. When you're dealing with misogynoir, it is a completely different ball game. And my hat goes off to every dark-skinned Black woman that gets on these panels and speaks their truth and has these difficult discussions, because we deal with a lot. We do.
I absolutely love that response, and that kind of leads me to this because I see how you handle it, and also because I be in your lives all the time, so I see how you handle it. The one thing though is the conversations, like when we spot, the misogyny, the misogynoir, like do you think that it's okay if we turn it into a teachable moment for that person, or is it always just going to be a teachable moment for the chat? Like, if you can get that person to come back from a 10 to maybe a 4, where they can actually have a conversation, do you think that that could be a teachable moment for them? And how do you actually approach it? Because I think something that's been running through my mind here a lot is that, okay, we can try to prevent it, like this toxic male masculinity. Like, we can, try to prevent it in our young ones, because I know that you have young sons also, Swan. But how do we address it with, the adults, with the men? or with the women who have de-internalized, misogyny?
I think I do want to say in terms of parenting, because I always hear people talking about like having the discussions with your children. That's definitely important. And with my oldest, he's a gem. He's a gem. He's very, very like in tune with his emotions, and he is not mean at all. I don't think I've ever heard him like raise his voice. But one thing I think that's really important for parents to their children, or if you are because we Black, what I'm saying, we value community. I think everybody should. We also have children in our lives that are not our children. I think it's really important to congratulate them. This is one thing that I think a lot of adults maybe forget or don't do enough of. And that's how you build those positive pathways in the brain. Congratulate them when they do the right thing. Tell them that they did the right thing. Acknowledge it. And let that be louder than when you lose your cool. I think that needs to have much more of an impact on them. Now, when we're talking about adults, it really depends. I think it is worth it to have discussions with people that are taking in what you're saying. And we have had moments like that. We had someone come up to the panel. I think with him, it was just like he was very, very literal, and that's just how his brain worked. And by the end of the discussion, I had somebody come up onto the panel that was a mutual, and they were in tussle mode, ready to just go back and forth with it. And I said, well, hold on a minute. We do not need to approach this conversation in that way. He's taking the information in. He's been very honest with us. So let's continue to have that honest discussion. And by the end of the discussion, I mean, you could see that you could see the chat. I mean, my chat is like super involved all the time. But they were like, wow, this turned out to be a really good discussion. If you can take advantage of those moments and you have somebody that is receptive, definitely go with it. If they're not receptive, I tell them, well, then maybe you should take into consideration sitting on someone's couch for an hour, a couple times a week, for real, because that's too much. But when we have those moments where we can, I told them, give us a follow, make sure you come back to our spaces. Those moments, even though it's like rare, I do think that it is beneficial for the chat. It is beneficial for us on the panel and those that are listening in, for sure.
Absolutely. I think that we all get so much from that. And that was a great question, Eve, because I think a lot of people are so used to that, like, combat, right? Like just bumping heads and not being able to actually take that in and be able to really accept, that quote unquote teachable moment. So I think that was an awesome call out. All right, a couple of things really quick because we got more people in the box that I want to get in. We have some other special guests that are here. I got a couple of donations I want to read out. Jillian, I want to come to you, and this is what we're going to do with the people that are engaging in the conversation. That's not the special invited guests, the people in the community. When you come up, if you have something that you want to throw out that you want to talk about, or a specific question to someone that you would like to ask on the panel, or just the panel in general, you guys have that, and then I'm going to swap you out because, again, I want to try to keep getting in additional people as much as possible, but also respecting the time of the special guests. Adorna, I want to hear from you. Smitty, I want to come back to you and see if you have anything else that you want to add, because I know that you had a little bit of limited time, and I was going to swap you out and get some more of the quote unquote mutuals in. But let me read these off super quick. I'm only saying thank yous. I know people are putting messages, but I'm only going to say thank you just for the sake of time and give an update, and then we're going to keep it pushing. Thank you so much to Carmela for the 20. Thank you for the 20 for the donation. Thank you to Caitlin for the 5. Thank you to Beth for the 2. Thank you to Samantha for the 5. Thank you to Samantha B for the 2. Thank you so much to Diabo. Shout outs to Diabo, who sent 50. W's in the chat for Melody, who sent 25. W's in the chat for Cynthia, who sent 10. W's in the chat for Angie, who sent 10. Awesome. W's in the chat for Phil, who sent 50. W's in the chat for Libby, who sent 30. W's in the chat for Andrea, who sent 25. W's in the chat for Ashley, who sent 20. And W's in the chat for Patricia, who sent 5. Guys, Oh, sorry. And W's in the chat for Che, who sent 25. Guys, we're up to $474 that we have raised. We are raising money all 3 nights that is going towards men's mental health with Movember. And we're also going to donate towards RAIN, which RAIN supports survivors of DV, men and women. But we're going to be donating to those 2 causes. So anything that you guys donate to the pay links, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, we will be donating that money over these next 3 nights. If you're over on YouTube and you send a super chat, like, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and read these off. But any of the actual donations going to the pay links, we will be donating. W's in the chat for Matt, who sent a $4.99 super chat. To say the best leaders I've ever had in the military are women. Why does that not surprise me? So guys, if anyone else would like to actually donate, please consider donating. Anything is accepted. Everything's appreciated. Santana Speaks for You. Santana Speaks for You is the best way to chip in with this actual the actual charity, or not charity, but the donation drive that we're going to benefit those 2 different organizations. One other thing that I want to call out, and let me get this on the screen. Boom. And then do this. Boom. And I still need to update this slide. Crisis hotline. If anyone is in crisis and you need support, 988. You can call 988 for crisis. If you're a veteran, you can select option 1. National DV hotline is 24/7. You can call 1-800-799-7233. Rain.org. They have a chat function. If you don't have the ability to actually speak on the phone and you want to get in contact with someone, you can do so at rain.org. And then the Trevor Project. If you go to their page, they have multiple ways that you can actually contact them, whether it's phone call, text, or you can actually chat with them online. So guys, if you need any type of help, support, if you are in crisis in any way, please make sure that you take the help and you reach out to whoever is needed. With that being said, I want to really quick, because I know Adorna, you have not had an opportunity to speak. B, you have your hand up, but I want to come to Smitty really quick. Smitty, did you have anything else that you wanted to add in or speak on? And I think Erica might have had one other thing for you as well, but anything else that you want to add before I swap you out?
No, thank you, man. Just real quick, I saw in the chat there was a couple things in the chat I wanted to mention really quick. One was kind of the process of deconstructing. I think someone said, "Hey, how did you start deconstructing, or what prompted you to deconstruct?" I would say I can't speak for all men. Certainly, I can only speak for myself. But I realized I was lied to, and I think I try not to perpetuate that cycle. I think young men are lied to constantly by older men, especially as it relates to women and how to approach women, how to talk to women, how to exist in the world with women. Men are constantly, again, older men are constantly lying to younger men about that. And I think you reach an age as a man yourself, you're like, oh my gosh, like all of these lies that I heard, none of them were true. And even if certain things were potentially true, it was told to me in a very, I would say, a tactile sense, right? Not explaining to me why or the reasoning behind why you should be a certain way as a man. And so I think as men that are older, we have to stop lying to younger men, and we have to start explaining to men, our younger men, how to be responsible men and what a good person does. So I think that was really, I think all that I wanted to add. And there were a couple of folks when I was talking about my son that said thank you, and you don't have to thank me. I thank all of you. I've been so impressed by so many people on this panel. All you have to do is come on TikTok for a couple of months. You'll see what toxic masculinity is, and you'll see the bravery that all these women show day after day. I don't know how they do it. It's incredible. You inspire me. You motivate me. The Gen Z and the millennial generations, you are the future. You're incredible. And so please don't thank me. I thank you. You've given me new life. I'm a Gen Xer. I feel a little bit younger than I really am out here. And so you guys are my heroes. I look up to you guys. You guys are the future. You guys are going to save us. None of these damn politicians aren't going to do shit for us. It's going to be you guys. So I am so happy to be behind you, and anything I can do for you, y'all let me know. So much love,
Don't
everybody.
worry, Smitty. I'm almost 60. Don't worry. I understand.
Absolutely. Erica, did you have something else you wanted to ask Smitty?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, Smitty,
But thank you so much, Smitty.
I appreciate you coming up and giving us some of your time. I know you're out and about doing your thing, and so you even being willing to say yes and swing by, that means so much. I really appreciate you more than you could ever imagine.
Appreciate you, fam. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great night.
All right. So I know people have their hands up. I promise you, I'm going to come to the hands. We still got to hear from Amanda. We still got to hear from Alicia. We have a question from Jillian, but Adorna has not had an opportunity to chime in, and we have to hear from Adorna, because Adorna, I actually want to know, like, the way that you systematically decimate men that it's the truth, men that come to you when it comes to it. And I think it's a thing with every single woman that's on this panel, every single woman that I invited, every single woman that I call, my friend on this app that actually do this. You all are head and shoulders above pretty much every single man out there, right? Like, it's super interesting the attention that men get on this app versus the actual knowledge and information that women share on this app, right? Just being truthful. And it's always really interesting to me to see these men that come up and they see you on the panel, Adorna, and they think they're gonna have an opportunity to like railroad you or really like show you up because they see a black woman, and then you open your mouth and they realize that they're in the deep water and they can't swim. How do you do that? And even more so, like, why is it so important to show that, like, hey, just because you have this quote unquote male ego does not mean that you're the smartest person in the room?
Yeah, I think that I think usually there's this desire to put you in your place. And that's kind of where it comes from. I'm going to put you in your place. That's, you're too big for your britches, or you're an uppity Negro, right? There's a fine line, or you have to figure it out, between people that are actually looking for information and education and people that are kind of feigning that. And just looking for kind of an opportunity to pounce. And so for me, I tend to use a lot of stats and facts. I've always been like that. Like, I really like information. And so I usually try to kind of counter with things that I know can't be discredited, because I think that's usually what people are looking for, is the opportunity to kind of find you lacking, and from there then kind of opening that further and pulling that apart. And so if you're able to counter with things that are factually true, I mean, a lot of people just don't care even if the facts are there, but at least in that way they'll realize that that you are someone that to contend with, that it's not just, you're not just coming up with your feelings, because as B said earlier, a lot of them are just coming up with feelings, like they don't have any actual information. So there's a speaking of facts, but there's a study Harvard did a while back, I think it was in 2019, where they looked at thousands of 360-degree reviews, and then they looked to see there were 19 capabilities of people that have excellent leadership skills, and women outscored men in 17 of the 19 capabilities, right? But then when they asked, who do you think should be the leaders, right? I mean, the capabilities they received, they got were from specifically 360 reviews, so those weren't directly asked of them. But when they ask people, who do you think should be the leaders, they say men. Right? Despite women outscoring men when it comes to leadership capabilities. And so a lot of it is just men thinking or being told that that is their rightful place, despite how capable you are, despite how knowledgeable you are. And so the idea is, again, they're just going to come up and put you in your place because you're not supposed to be there to begin with. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Countering
it's like it's poetic to watch like someone who has never come across you and like to realize it in real time. Like like I know they're not on camera, but you can hear it in their voice. The confidence leaves, and they start to spiral, and it's a whole thing.
Well, sorry, real quick. I usually say, and I try to start out nice. I do try to start out nice. A lot of times it doesn't end that way. But once it's going south, I usually just say, which I think is true. The truth is that you're feeling mediocre in a world that was made for you, right? You're feeling mediocre in a country that was made for you, and that's really why you're mad. And I think really that's generally what it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I could not agree more. Thank you so much for that, Adorna. E, what do you think?
I'm not gonna kid you that time. But I do know that, like, no matter what women do, that we aren't viewed the same as men are, no matter our capabilities. And there's so much intersectionality there that goes into that when it comes to not just like things like your gender. So if you're a woman, then your race, and then also colorism. It's so many things. So no matter how intelligent we are, again, how capable we are, there's just a lot that goes there. I do want to ask Jillian a question, but Daddy Swan has her hand up.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, let's grab Swan and Comrade first, and then we'll come to Jillian.
Awesome. All right. What's up, Swan?
I was just gonna say, sorry, this is kind of like, I feel like we kind of passed this point a little bit, but I was just thinking about the ways in which we internalize these things, and kind of like the way that I've been growing and like checking myself on internalizing these things, understanding that it is, I think a lot of times a defense mechanism, or just a lack of understanding or lack of education on how misogyny and misogynoir impacts us, and trying not to fall into that. And I'm gonna be honest, y'all. I was raised primarily by my father, so going out into the world, I learned that things that were normal growing up for me at home, I'm like, well, wait a minute, that's misogyny, that's misogynoir, and I gotta, make sure I combat that as well, and don't fall into that whenever I am around men, or responding to men in a particular way or in a certain way. And that's something that I've been working on, if that makes sense. I don't know if that we kind of passed that point. That was what I was going to add earlier, but yeah, that is something that I think about.
Yeah, no, I think that that's a great point, and I really appreciate you calling that out. And one thing that I appreciate not only about your live, Swan, because like I'll come and lurk in your live a lot of times, and sometimes I'll come up, but a lot of times I'm just there to listen and learn. But someone else who I'll never forget, it was a late nights that I did, and it was me and Sean was the first person I ever heard talk about misogynoir. And like I remember working on the background and working with Sean to actually shape the topics and everything. And Sean was the one that introduced me to that. And ever since then, I was like, holy crap. One, it's something that I had been taught, as a young person. But two, it's something I had engaged in. And also three, it's something that explains so much that occurs throughout society. So it was just like wild to actually, it was like an aha moment, and seeing that as a fully functional adult, like it was something. So all right, B, you had your hand up as well. I want to make sure we don't miss that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I wanted to make some space for other people on the panel as well. But I really appreciate you having me. I just think that other people probably have really important things to say as well. But yeah, I definitely, to everyone in the chat, make sure that you're following all the women on this live. Listen to the women in your lives, listen to the women on this panel, women in general. And I'm sure everyone here, if you ever want to like read some literature, even if you're not like a person that likes to sit and watch lives all day, if you like books, I'm sure everyone here has some really, really great book recommendations on these topics, and all you have to do is ask them. But yeah, I'll hang out and listen, and I'll request if I feel that my voice needs to be heard again. But I appreciate you for doing this, and I appreciate you for having me. Follow all the women on the panel. Love them so much. Thank you, Santana. Everyone
B,
have a good
thank
night.
you so much for coming up. I appreciate you making time. You're so awesome. All right. E. You were getting ready to go to Jillian, so we could get yeah, well, I'll give you the floor.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hi, Jillian. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking, love. Hey, so do you have a question in particular about the impact in society or on politics, or any question you want answered in regards to male fragility from the panel?
I don't know that I necessarily have any questions. I was just gonna kind of say something that I went through. I mean, I have like 5 million thoughts going through my head about everything.
Let's try to get those down. I don't know if we can do 5 million.
I was gonna say,
well, I know,
let's
right?
try to do
We
1 million.
we can go over 1.
Okay, cool.
But no, so I left my husband a few years ago after it was an emotionally abusive situation. And the majority of people that responded were like, well, you should give him a chance, and they were you should be careful about the word abuse, because people could, interpret that the wrong way, and just giving him the benefit of the doubt in every way just because he never actually hit me. And I think that's something in society that happens with men, is like, if they're not doing something that's blatantly hurtful, then it's not
sorry.
recognized.
Can you guys hear me? I just want to say trigger warning for the chat. We want to make sure that we
I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah, make people aware. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I feel like if it's not something that's blatantly or obviously hurtful, then people just kind of look past it. And I think that's something, I don't know, it kind of goes with men's mental health. Like, it's not seen as masculine to get therapy for, I mean, it's getting better, but with certain circles of men, it's like, oh, men don't do that. Men don't go to therapy. And I think that leads to a lot of these toxic friendships or relationships or anything like that. Yeah.
It kind of goes back to like they treating women as their unpaid psychologists. And then also psychiatrists, because they want us to diagnose them too. But that kind of leads to a segue to Eli. Eli,
hold on 1 second before we go to Eli real quick. Would anybody like to say anything in reply to what Jillian said before we swap her out?
Well, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that is something that does get overlooked. If we're talking about like maybe it's financial or emotional, or even, someone just like controlling what's, a person's actions and all of those things. I think that people don't necessarily realize, like, yes, it's all of it is going to impact you negatively. And I do think that we tend to, I don't know how to explain it. I just think I agree in terms of all of those things needing to be taken into consideration, and all of those things being an issue that impacts people, if that makes sense.
It does. I think that that's a great call out, Swan, and I think that a lot of people fail to see like the overarching impact, and I think that's just a great way to make sure that we're keeping focus on that, and we don't single it into just like one type of situation or whatever. So yeah, no. Thank you, Swan. Jillian, thank you so much for coming up. I'm going to swap you out. I really appreciate you coming up with the comment, adding to this conversation. All right. And I'm sorry, E, you were getting ready to go to Eli.
Yeah. Hey, Tabby. Oh, sorry. I know you're gonna introduce. I just get happy when I see Tabby. Okay. So, hey, Eli. I did want to kind of like pivot to you in regards to that because Jillian did speak about men's mental health and how it's not taken seriously. And I wanted to ask you, how do you as a man go about feeling your feelings, and then what avenues do you take to process them? I think the theme for me tonight is what I see. As a former emotional support girlfriend, I see that men really, really like to use women as basically free therapy, to like do that trauma dumping, that dump on. And then also when they don't get like the response or the answer that they want, it can turn to aggression. So yeah, how do you go about feeling your feelings and actually processing them? What avenues do you take to process them in a healthy way?
Yeah, sure. I just realized, I hope y'all can't hear my dogs eating too badly. Okay, good. I realized
They might hear me.
yeah.
Someone dropped the host.
So, first of all, thank you for having me up, Santana. I felt super honored to be invited to a panel to speak, surrounded by a bunch of like incredible women on this app. So like, I do appreciate even just getting to be a part of this. That being said, if you're in here because you follow me and you don't follow the people that are on the panel right now, then I take it personally. It feels like you don't like me then. So follow everybody on the panel, including the host. Yeah. So to answer your question, I I feel like maybe the kind of intersectionality component impacts the way that I handle my emotions versus the way that I see the average man in society handling his. And that still being said, it's taken a lot of practice and a lot of like intentional work to be able to respond the way that I do now, because it wasn't always this way. When I feel something, a big emotion, I know that I might not be able to identify what the feeling is right at first. A lot of times it does end up in like like a feeling of anger or one of those big masking emotions, that protector emotion. And I learned that that word and that phrase from therapy. So lots and lots and lots of therapy, which was definitely stigmatized in the military. However, I wasn't in the military presenting as a man. For those who don't know me, I am a trans man. I served 13 years in the military and was kicked out for being trans recently. But yeah, so all that to say, fighting against the stigmas was really hard, and I lost like some, actually, sorry, trigger warning. I lost some men to the that were my friends, to the lack of that mental health and awareness, and because of those stigmas. So what I do when I have a big emotion, in order to handle it in a healthy way, I know that if I can't even ground myself, if I can't even cover like or get myself to a position where I'm not feeling these really, really big emotions, even alone, how am I going to be around anybody else and without hurting them, without harming them in some sort of way, potentially, at least risking it?
Exactly.
And so what I do is, if there are big feelings that I'm having when I'm around someone, I ask for space very directly, and I say like, hey, I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to go into another room. Or, hey, I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to go outside for a walk. Or, hey, I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm going to go like game or do something that lets my brain channel my thoughts into that emotion, so that I can recognize where the emotion is coming from. If I'm feeling angry, is the anger trying to tell me? What am I truly mad about? Am I actually sad? Am I actually feeling hurt? Am I actually feeling betrayed? Like, where is it coming from? Regulate all that, because every single time that I want to say something in the moment, without fail, after I do that grounding work, after I do that, it's not the same thing that I want to say anymore. And that's where that hurt comes into play. So writing things down as I'm thinking things, I get overwhelmed. And so like all the thoughts going all over the place, as soon as I see them in front of me, and I can read them back to myself, it's like a validation of my own emotion. Like, oh, if I read this in third person, I picked this up, I would probably feel bad for this person. And so giving myself that validation instead of trying to seek it from somebody else, because not a therapist, not a woman's job to be your therapist.
Exactly.
So that's what I do. I go through the process of like emotionally regulating when I'm having those big feelings. Take space, and then I don't return to that conversation until I'm ready and the other person is also ready. And so that's I guess the long-winded way of
Having that
answering
emotional, well, self-awareness, and then also the emotional intelligence to know when to actually approach those conversations when you have those big feelings. So I definitely respect it. Thank you so much for that, Eli.
Absolutely.
Did anyone want to?
Well, one second. Let me do this really quick because I want to come to Alicia because Alicia hasn't gotten an opportunity to speak. I want to come to Amanda because Amanda hasn't gotten an opportunity to speak. I want to introduce the new people on the panel, and I do want to check back in with Swan and Adorna and see if they had anything else, and just a couple other things. So there's a lot going on. I promise you, I'm trying to keep everything moving as smoothly as possible. We have a lot of amazing people that are in and out. We got people in the request. I promise you, we're gonna try to keep this moving as smoothly as possible, and it gets unfortunately better on Tuesday and Wednesday than it normally is on Monday. So with that being said, Alicia, floor is yours. I want to see if you have anything that you want to add, because I don't want to dictate to you. You've been so patient, so kind, and so wonderful with your time. So if there's anything that you want to speak to, and then after that, I have a question for you directly. So first, floor is yours.
So first, I just, as somebody who works in mental health, hearing you speak, Eli, about what you do, I'm just like, that's like I've repeated that to people. I don't know how many times in practicing good management of your emotions, good emotional regulation and intelligence. I don't write things down, but I do voice record, because for me, hearing myself say it back, it kind of puts it into perspective. Like, was it really a big deal? But I thought that was amazing, what you were saying. And I think like what I really wanted to talk about, like with hearing everybody speak, and I do want to say, like, everybody on this panel, oh my God, like I love watching all of your lives. All of you I have such admiration for, as well as some of you guys have been there for me in very, very rough times. So I absolutely appreciate that as well. Have defended me in times, like yes. I find it so like interesting, right? So like the conversation of like, okay, in the app versus in real life. In working with the VA, I've heard this in real life. Like some of the things that men come up onto the panels and say to women or say about women, I've sat in groups where men say these things out loud in my face. While I was in the service, I've had men say things to me about being a woman, about being Black, about being attractive. It's so jarring. And I really thought that it was something like to the culture of the military, but even coming onto this app, I'm realizing this is just society, and how society is allowing men to be conditioned. Because I want to be very clear, this is not something biological to men. This is social conditioning. I've met amazing men that don't behave this way, who have the ability to recognize and see women as their equal, as their partner, as like to share in the world with them, versus men who feel as though women should just be happy to be here. So it becomes difficult. I know sometimes when I'm on the app, a lot of times some of my mutuals think that I take too much time to try to educate people, because sometimes there's just no educating certain people. But I have to think that we can try to reach some people sometimes. Like, I have to think that there is getting through to at least one, even if it's not the person on the panel, people in the chat. Like, I have to think that somehow we're going to be able to reach them and get them to understand, even to reach a mutual ground in understanding. Because yeah, it's just I don't know. I'm sorry. I have, like, there were so many things that were talked about, so I had a million things. I definitely should have wrote things down.
Yeah, no, I apologize for taking so long. I'm trying to make sure that we we get everyone, and I'm listening, and everyone has so much knowledge and information, and it's so wonderful, and it's like a million things happening. Alicia, I have a question for you, and then I got a quick announcement that I want to make, and a couple of other things. But Alicia, so you spoke to like your experience, your military background, and also dealing with people on the app and off the app. I guess the biggest question that I'll have for you is understanding your background and being in a instance where you do have a military background, and the military is so structured, and it seems like, from outside perspective looking in, it seems like one of those types of environments where emotions aren't really accepted or allowed. And it seems like to me men would more so, even with the military culture, be more susceptible to stuffing those feelings down, which leads more to like the toxic masculinity, more to the fragility. Is that something that you've seen? And even more so, have you seen like any men, in your past work experience actually come out of that?
Yes. Well, okay. So first, I would like to say that I feel as though we were headed in a direction that I was hoping there was going to be a lot more acceptance of mental health. We had people in leadership positions who were leading by example, by going to behavioral health on a regular basis just to get checkups, like to create that normative. Family time was set up where we were prioritizing service members to recognize that, yes, this is your job, but your family is your family. Like, we were doing these things, and sadly, with the shift of leadership and this administration, that went away. And it is not something that's thought about. We're going completely backwards into old time, and it is a detriment to our service members, absolutely. But there are service members. I had the honor of not only I was in the 82nd, but then I went over to USASOC, which is Special Operations. I worked with men who were Green Berets, who had been Green Berets their whole life, had made it all the way up in the ranks, and were sergeant majors of battalions over Green Berets. Men who had seen actual combat, who had seen people, trigger warning, lose their lives, all these things. And they would sit and talk to a man who had just lost custody of his children, like in such a compassionate way, or speak to a woman who had miscarried. I had seen those things happening, and I do, like, not being in anymore, all I can do is try to help people as they're getting out, or sometimes I do tell people who are currently in what their rights are, but it's just completely crumbling. We talk about the attack on people of color, or Black people in general, within the military right now. Black men are being targeted in the military, which is only causing more turmoil with them. Black women are being targeted in the military with these new changes of regulation. Like, it's just a downward spiral. Like, it's a huge issue.
Yeah, I kind of figured that, and I figured that was the tone and temperament, and it seems like I was having this conversation the other day. It seems like once we start to make any type of progress, I'm not going to go into it. I can get on my soapbox. Okay, couple of things really quick, because I didn't say this at the beginning of the live, and I think it's super important that I say this right now, and this is on me. This is on me. there are a lot of people here in this space that don't normally come into the space because there's a lot of wonderful creators who have joined me that I spend time in their space. And so, people may come in and they don't necessarily know what late nights is about. And even more so, there's a lot of people who are, coming in and thinking that, oh, this is about politics or whatever, and it's not. The thing that I want to make sure that I call out, and I say this at the beginning of every panel on late nights, is this is a safe and friendly community. That means that we don't deal with any of the isms, racism, sexism, classism. We don't do any of the phobias, homophobias, transphobia, none of that. We don't deal with it on the panel nor in the chat. With that being said, for the people in the chat, because I've been watching the chat and I've seen like some, back and forth, certain conversations, different things being said, people talking about Trump or politics or like all this other stuff. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that, again, this is a safe and friendly community. We don't do any of that. And if you're engaging in those things in the chat, you will be blocked. Point blank, period. My mods don't play that and they get free reign. So I just had to call that out because I saw some people, saying some stuff that I thought was inappropriate. And I want to make sure you know that we're not doing that. All right. That being said as well, W's in the chat for Alexia, who sent $5 towards the donation. W's in the chat to Brittany, who sent $16 towards the donation. And W's in the chat for Brenda, who sent $5 towards the donation. Guys, we have raised $500 so far tonight. And as a quick reminder, all the money that we raise through the pay links tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday night will be donated to two different causes: men's mental health with Movember, and also for Rain, who deals with survivors of DV. So if you can do anything, even $1, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Santana Speaks for You, Santana Speaks for You. We will be taking all the funds from the pay links and donating that to those two causes. Something else that I want to call out just to make sure that we are constantly speaking about this and we are providing the resources for people who may be in crisis. If you have any type of crisis and you need any type of help or support, there's multiple ways that you can get support. You can call 988 for crisis. If you're a veteran, you can select option 1. National DV hotline, 1-800-799-7233. Rain.org has a chat function, so you can actually contact them through chat. And then the Trevor Project, for the people part of the queer community, if you need support, you can get that support. If you go, they actually have phone number you can call, text messages, and they have an online chat function as well. So again, this is not only about the information that we're sharing with the people on the panel, but this is about making sure that if there is ever an opportunity that we can get people help, that we are helping. So that being said, I want to come to, let me introduce the two new people real quick, and then I want to come to Amanda, and then we'll try to move it around as quickly as possible. All right. Tabby, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Tabby, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I appreciate your patience. I'm sorry it's not moving as smoothly just yet, but I promise you I'm going to get to you really, really soon.
I'm taking notes.
Okay, see, listen.
So when it's my turn, I'm ready.
What? That's what I'm talking about.
One thing Tabby gonna do is take some notes.
She is. Thank you, Tabby. Sean. Hey, Sean. You must have heard me talking about you.
I did.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Trying to make it. Drinking my water, saying kind things about myself and whatnot. Just making it through the night.
Started already? That's what we doing? That's what we doing?
Stop it, Sean. All right. All right. So really quick, because I don't want to forget about you. I know that we've been doing a lot, and I know that you specifically said that you wanted to kind of shift the conversation towards the other point. So can you lay the groundwork, tell the people on the panel what we want them to start thinking about, because we want to start having that conversation within the last hour. Come on, dude. I sent you the message. What did I say? Holy smokes.
We want to talk about, we want to have a conversation. All right,
tell them what we want them thinking about.
All right. Oh shoot, I gotta look at the messages. Y'all bear with me for a moment. He gonna dock my pay. Oh my gosh, no! Please don't dock my pay.
Oh,
I'm
did you forget?
sorry.
It was literally your idea, and I was like, let's do this.
Really? It was? Tell him. You tell him. Go ahead. You do the honors.
So it's pretty soon we want to start shifting the
behind the
conversation to talk about the bottom portion, the last one that is helping hands. Really what it is approaching the conversation as far as how do we deal with people, how do we deal with men that have these issues when it comes to emotional regulation or their fragility, and being able to address those things, have those conversations, and finding productive ways to help. And I'll give you an example myself. Big advocate of therapy, right? I do therapy on Fridays, but like having those conversations with those people, and we want to start figuring out like how we can get that done, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, because we can have the conversation. What I was talking about behind the scenes, guys, is how like we can have the conversations with our boys, our young men, but really having a conversation with the adults. Like, how do we go about approaching those conversations? See, I remember now. See, like the Vyvanse starts to wear off around 10.
That's why you need the Addy. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to come to Amanda. Amanda, I want to come to you because you are someone who is not only someone with a medical background, right? But you're also someone who deals with politics. You're someone that has a wealth of knowledge, and you're someone that I've seen almost literally put these fragile men in a figure four leg lock, right? You know how to take care of them. And I'm just wondering, one, why is it that, and maybe it's just online, right? Maybe I'm just chronically online, but why does it seem like men have such big fifis? And even more so too, why is it so prevalent within politics now? Because it seems like the quote unquote red pill mentality is winning out. And I'm not gonna say that, but yeah, I'll just say the red pill mentality seems to be winning out.
I mean, a lot of these men that engage in red pill behavior and who come online and beat their chest are used to hearing other men say the exact same thing as they are. So they're not used to people challenging their beliefs. And I think that's why they come and they treat one of the reasons, there's a long list of reasons why, but why they come and they treat women in online spaces the way that they do. Now, as much as I love a good verbal lashing, I've stopped doing that. And I've stopped doing that because I've come to find out that some of the men do this for schmexual reasons, and I don't work for free. So they will come onto these panels and they will do these things and say these things to intentionally get a rise out of you because they want you to publicly degrade them. And I'm not going to do that. I don't engage in that behavior anymore. As far as where it starts in healing these issues that we see, it's got to start with other men, to be honest. That's just my opinion. It has to start with other men because they want women, just as Erica said, and all of the other wonderful people on this panel, they want women to be their free therapists, their free psychologists. And ultimately, they're not going to listen to us anyway. We can give them the most sound advice, the most logical advice, and they're not going to listen to us. They're not.
Why?
Because women, they see women as less than. They don't value women as much as they do the opinion of other men.
What do you all think on the panel? Because like that's something that I've always thought about, and I don't know if it's just a me thing, because I appreciate I appreciate specifically the women that I interact with more so than the men. Sorry guys, whatever. But the women tend to bring a different level of intellect, in my opinion. And like I've always said that like there's 3 people on this app that I would never want to debate. And it just so happens to be Sean, Athena, and Adorna. Like those are the 3 people I would like never, right? If I'm on the opposite side of them, then I'm on the wrong side. But it seems like a lot of men can't really understand or appreciate that. I'll open it up to the entire panel. What do you guys think? Like, why are they so advert to like that in general?
I was going to say, because it's not easy. 9 times out of 10, a person is going to take the easy route, especially when you're talking about a person that society, what was it, Adorna that said it before, how she ends conversations, how you're literally failing in a system that was created for you.
Yeah.
So when you're going through life in a system that everything is created for you to succeed, and you're faced with something that is difficult, and it's a woman who is a person who doesn't have everything set up for them to succeed, and they're trying to give you the answers, and it's like, yeah, no, that sounds like I have to do work. Like, that sounds like I have to get outside of the clean cut path that was cut for me in order to get something, and they don't want to do that.
Tabby, then Eli.
I would say part of it is also they would rather impress other men than to sit down and actually listen to a woman and what she has to say on a matter, because you don't get points from impressing women. You get points as far as patriarchy and stuff like that. You get points from having women, but you don't get points for impressing women or for making a woman happy particularly. You get points for making men happy.
You know what? Like that, when you say that, that's like, it's super interesting because it's something that, like I've had the conversation with multiple people, like men in the gym, and certain men think like, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna get, big and all this other stuff, and I'm gonna impress women, and then the people that showing them most attention is men. And like they say, like I get so much attention from men, and I thought I was gonna get women. Like I think that's exactly what you're saying. Okay, Eli.
Yeah, Tabby said kind of like the primary thing I was gonna say, like the reason why, like they do want to just impress other men, because it's not about being. I mean, maybe it is about being a little queer. Who knows? But for like a straight man, it's not about him being queer. It's every single thing in this patriarchy from the time that like these kids are little boys is literally designed to impress other men. Everything. Like when it comes to like what like the gym is something that I think that was a really great example, because I have never in my life, but outside of like a niche like people I've seen maybe online, but in having conversations with women in person, I've never met a single woman who has been like, if he doesn't have a six pack, if his biceps aren't this circumference, if it like, I've never heard a woman ever say that. I have heard a lot of that from is men. Yeah. And what I wanted to like bring the specific, and I would like to touch on this as like my last comment, like before I drop. Yeah. But it's like the difference between like the perspective that like trans men who go through any like sort of, or trans masculine people that go through any sort of like medical transition. If you have a lived experience of being perceived as like a woman, and then you have a lived experience of being perceived like as a man, like correctly, every single thing, it is the weirdest thing, chat. It is the weirdest thing. Going from being what I would say, like, when I walk into a store, men get excited. Other men get excited. They notice that I'm walking through the door, and they get kind of like this excitement. Not when I walked in, being perceived as like a woman. It was almost like, oh, it's treated. The only words I know how to describe it was like feeling infantilized, or feeling like stupid, or feeling ignored, or feeling like annoyed, or just like there was never a good like it sometimes, it's not every single case, but just the way that women and femme presenting people navigate through society is so different. Bros literally get excited like, oh, yay, somebody, a bro I get to talk to. It's like, And it's because it starts from a very, very early age. The whole patriarchy is literally feeding men affirmations for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that, and it's just a whole weird thing. Eli, thank you so much for coming up and hanging out. I really appreciate you giving us some of your time. And again, we're going to be doing these next 2 nights. If you have some time, come back by.
Bye, Eli.
Sure.
Love you.
Yeah, for sure. Love you all, everybody in here. Like I said, everybody, hey, if you don't follow the people on the panel or anybody else that Santana has intentionally up, follow them. Follow them, give them your love. And everybody I didn't say hi to in the comments.
Absolutely.
Hi. I love
Thank you, Eli.
Bye.
Love
I'll
you
see
more.
y'all later.
Thank you, Eli. Have a great night, love.
E, you had your hand up, and then Adorna, and then I want to come to Tabby and Sean. They haven't had an opportunity to speak, and then we're just going to completely open it up after that point. So E, you first.
All right. Well, I just wanted to add on to something that Tabby was saying. You make a really a good point about how you said something in regards to basically how men basically want to impress other men. And I see this on both sides. So instead of saying, oh, I just say I see it on both sides. Men have a tendency to want to go into like these measuring contests. If you know, you know. And the thing is that they can't measure anything against a woman. They can't measure anything against us. So what they then do is they seek to humble us instead, like make us feel small. And one of the things that I know that it's a rarity that I do it. I'm a child that I do it.
Poop.
But getting like the being like loud and cussing them out and stuff like that, it's a rarity that I do it because again, I'm gonna put on your fragile masculinity. I'm gonna put it on display. Right. I want people to see how you're speaking, and I want you not to forget this experience because you didn't walk away with humbling anything. All you did was make yourself appear insecure, weak, and small. That's what you did. It had the opposite effect of what you wanted. So I think that's what ends up happening. And I've seen it in real life. I've seen it on this app and in other spaces. Yeah, it's like y'all want to measure something and get someone, and with women you can't measure that. So all right, and then I'm gonna make her be quiet by insulting her, by making her feel less than, and so we go there. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass it on to Adorna.
Adorna, floor is yours.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think in general, but especially in like debates, like especially TikTok live debates, that part of it is that a lot of these men are, in terms of superiority, trying to convince themselves as much as they're trying to convince you, right? So if they feel less intelligent, they're going to call you emotional. If they feel cornered, they're going to say you're angry. If they feel out argued, then they're just going to try to imply your value is in your sexuality rather than your brain, right? So it's a defensive mode. It's basically a performance. It's not just for the audience though, but it's for themselves as well. They're repeating degrading language, and they're not just trying to insult you. They're trying to remind themselves that they're still in control. Like this is my world. This is for me. They're trying to convince themselves, and they need to reassert dominance. Their need to reassert dominance it's actually a sign of how fragile they are and how fragile they feel inside. It's literally them trying to convince themselves.
I think that speaks a lot to like the lack of emotional intelligence, right? I mean, intelligence in general, but emotional intelligence as well. Not being able to like cipher those things out, and then feeling like you need to down other people in order to, I guess, make yourself feel better. Okay. All right. Tabby, I want to come to you. I want to give you the floor. And then we're going to go to Sean, and then we're going to switch back over to Kay, because Kay is going to lay the groundwork for everything else that we're doing for the rest of the night. But Tabby, first, I'm just going to give you the floor, see if you have, because you've been taking notes, whatever you want to speak to, and then I have a quick question for you.
Okay. Give me a second. So One of the main things I always say when we're talking about anything having to do with patriarchy or toxic masculinity is that we always have to acknowledge in these spaces that patriarchy does hurt everyone. While it does primarily hurt women and those who are non-binary, it does also hurt men themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're pushing these ideals that are like what it means to be a man, they are boxing themselves in to the same gender roles that they're trying to enforce upon everybody else, and then later on lash out because those gender roles are also hurting them. So when you have men who talk about, oh, no one cares about their emotions, it's because you taught everybody that you're supposed to be the logical one, not the emotional one in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, as well as like when the same thing comes up when we're talking about mental health, or when we're talking about when they bring up custody in court or other little things like that. It's like all these things are a result of the same thing that you are trying to push on other people, and they're not realizing a lot of them don't realize that it's hurting them themselves. The other thing I wanted to talk about was bring back to like the intersectionality part.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I say in that aspect is like oftentimes those who are being oppressed don't acknowledge where they are able to oppress others. So this particularly comes up when I'm having conversations with men who are also Black or just of color in themselves. They have a hard time, or anybody in this position who has both an oppression and a privilege have hard times wrapping their mind around the concept that you can harm people or that you can be someone's oppressor while also being oppressed yourself. And a lot of, in particular, since we're talking about men, I would say, who are of color, who have another part, or I would say gay or whatever, have that aspect where, well, I'm oppressed, so how is it that I can be someone else's oppressor?
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes a difficult part for them. The last thing I wanted to go to was because I know you were to talk about helping hands. I always have a list of groups. Let's go back down to it because I scrolled away from it. That are where is it? Nope, I skipped it. Give me a second. Look at my day.
Tap the screen, y'all. Tap the screen, y'all.
This is what happens when you take too many notes.
Well, will you do that real quick? Let me just say, W's in the chat for Alexis, who sent $1 donation to the donation goal. Also, W's in the chat for Noah, who sent $1 towards the donation goal. Guys, we are taking donations for two wonderful causes: men's mental health. We are donating to Movember, and then also survivors of DV. We're donating to RAIN. So if you would like to actually support that, please, if you can send $1, $2, whatever you can send to the pay links, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Santana Speaks for You, Santana Speaks for You. If you would like to donate, you can send it over, and we will be making those donations after this 3-night event. Every single dollar that we collect through the pay links. Sorry, YouTube. If you want to support me, hit the YouTube. But for all the other pay links, we will be donating to those two wonderful causes. So if you can afford to contribute anything, please do so. Good, Tabby?
So since I'll be here tomorrow night as well, I'm gonna name more of them later, but I'll name at least two of these. They're pro-feminist men's groups that started a long time ago that are still going on today. That there's the main one that I wanted to bring up was Mentors in Violence Prevention. That one aims to educate men about socializations that link masculinity to violence and to motivate men to reject violence in themselves and other men as an empowered bystander. This one started in, I believe, 2011. It has programs to instill anti-violence attitudes in men who then teach their male peers not to be violent. So it's like one of those groups where their whole goal is to educate the next community and their peers. Then the other one is NMAS. Let me actually go to their website because it's the National Organization for Men Against Sexism. And that group is essentially it's one of the most prominent and long-lasting male feminist organizations. They sponsor workshops to expand men's awareness on ways in which their emotional development has been hindered by restrictive social views of masculinity, and to guide men into becoming more feeling and expressive. Condemns other conventionally male masculine qualities such as aggression, violence, and emotional insecurity. So that's another group that they have a lot of conferences. I think one coming up. They have a lot of conferences and work with different groups as well to further push things that are like anti-racism. They help out. Actually, go to their about page.
Hey.
They're about undoing the isms.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tabby. I'll say what I have to say after you finish. I apologize.
No, they're about undoing the isms. They recognize early on that all oppressions, aka the isms, are linked. Fighting against a single oppression without recognizing that it is intertwined with other oppressions will not move us towards the creation of a just society. Thus, we believe that it is essential to pursue justice on a broad range of social issues. But yeah, they're a pro-feminist group that was started by men that still goes on to this day.
That's pretty interesting. Hey, Tabby, can you do me a favor, love?
Yes.
No. I was about to say it. No, Tabby, can you text me that information, please? Can you
Tabby,
send that to me?
Will you please text me that information?
No,
please?
I was saying it first. That's what.
You.
No, because that's what I was about to say when I jumped in.
Send it to both of y'all.
Don't send it to Erica.
Santana, you're being misogynistic.
And then there are other ones that I have listed as well, but since I'll be back tomorrow, I was going to name them then.
Someone had to call it out. Thank you, Swan.
You're welcome. I got your back.
No, those are actually excellent resources, Tabby. Thank you so much for that. As soon as you said, that's why I almost interrupt you, and I had to stop myself, but I was like, holy smokes. But yeah, thank you, Tabby. I don't even have a question for you now because you covered what I wanted you to speak about. The one thing I will actually though is because I know that you don't normally I see you on lives, but you're not always live. It seems like you may have more of a distant viewpoint as far as what is happening online with this, red pill culture or whatever. And especially being someone, because I know you kind of took a step back a little bit and then you getting back into it. What have you seen? And is it something that you think is being really done? Is it more so like an internet thing, or is it something that is really happening out in public as well?
I think it's a bit of both. Particularly for younger generations, I do see it a lot more on the internet because that's where we mostly socialize. But I also see it out in public, with how people interact with each other. The online aspect is because we have a lot of these red pill groups that are becoming more to the forefront. Andrew Tate and many other podcast bros that come more to the forefront now, especially under the current administration that we're under. But they've been around for a while pushing their talking points. And I feel like the problem is that there are older generations that are now getting their grasp into younger generations. And if you sit down and you're watching or only listening to people who are pushing these negative stereotypes all day, it's going to continue. And I do think part of that issue comes because we don't have, how to put it, for younger generations, and I'm talking about generations even younger than me, when they're in middle school, when they're in high school, we don't have a media set separate for them anymore. Most of their media that they're consuming are Twitch streamers. Most of the media that they're consuming are these podcast bros. Most of the media that they're consuming aren't things that are geared towards them. That whole era of Disney that we had at one point in time that taught more actual good values, gave different examples of how people are men at younger ages, we don't have that anymore. We have, like I said, Twitch streamers, we have YouTubers, we have, which they're not all bad, but like there isn't a separate media to help those kids grow up and develop in a healthy way outside of them watching adults media.
Yep. I think that's a great call out because it is a instance where the people that the younger people look up to now has completely shift, or I don't know, maybe it's more so in my head as well. But I completely agree. Like I see them, praising people like Aiden Ross or Kai Sinet or whatever the case may be, and not necessarily looking to other people that could be in my opinion better influences. But yeah, like, and I think that's why it's so prevalent. So thank you, Tabby, I appreciate you so much. All right, Sean, first and foremost, how are you feeling?
I feel good.
Okay, I know. I think someone said earlier I was on the live listening and said you were a little under the weather or whatever. So I didn't know if I was holding you up too many times or holding you up too much.
Oh no.
Okay, all right, Sean, floor is yours. You know how we do. You can take it wherever you want to take it. You can draw the boat. Where do you want to go?
I mean, with the topic, men's mental health. It depends on where you want to go, because if I take it somewhere, it's just gonna be.
Don't take the boat off the cliff. Just take it close enough to the cliff without driving off.
I ain't gonna take it over no cliff. There ain't no cliff. There ain't no cliff. What cliff? I don't see no cliff.
Okay. Male fragility. Talk about that for me. Why is it that men seem to respond in such a negative way, even when you talk about like self-harm, harming others, abuse of substance, like all of these things? It seems like men are more willing to dive into like those things instead of like seeking healthy means of help, like therapy. Why?
There's a multitude of reasons, but the biggest reason as to why men jump to like being offensive, I'll say that to be TikTok friendly. Whenever you're talking to them, wherever you're giving them education, debating them, whatever it is that it may be, like on these panels, Twitch, Twitter, or whatever I use Blue Sky. I don't really use Twitter no more. But anyway, you get what I'm saying on social media. It's a defense mechanism. The idea of like what they've been doing their entire life is wrong, and they've been taught wrong. It's like a form of cognitive dissonance where they kind of double down, and you telling them that what they're doing is wrong, incorrect, like they're not good people, makes them feel a certain way because they've been taught how to be good people their entire lives. And if they do these things, they will be a good person. And they feel like they've been doing these things. And so they should be a good person. And no one should be able to tell them different. And it's actually really bad when marginalized people tell them, because they've been told their whole life that just being marginalized itself is bad. Like if you're a marginalized person, it reflects within things like they can't really hide it when it comes to their practices institutionally. It reflects in their enrollments in school, hiring processes. Whereas you see people who have, like, just give one small example, you see white people with felonies getting hired at the same rate as black people without felonies. It shows you that they view blackness as a felony. Blackness is felonious activity. So they just look at it as like, oh, well, these people are bad because being marginalized is a bad thing. That's why being a woman is bad, like in every aspect of the oppression of women. If you have sex with people, you're a slut. If you don't have sex, you're a prude. If you get married, then you're off the market, and the only person whose voice matters is your husband's. And if you don't get married, why haven't you been picked yet?
there must be something wrong with you. Like in every single aspect, they just view it as something as, and this goes for all marginalizations. I just use Black people and women as like an example, but essentially, it's just a defense mechanism.
Uh, the interesting part about that is, I say this all the time, and I more so related to like improvements, and I say a rising tide lifts all boats, and talking about like focusing on making life better for the marginalized people, because if you can make life better for those that are most marginalized, then subsequently you're going to make life better for the other people, like the ones that are least marginalized. um, but Sean, like, I would think that getting that feedback from those marginalized people would be, I guess I'm being idealistic. I was gonna say I would think that it would be something that would hold so much more weight. Do you subscribe to the same theory that, because I've heard a couple of people say it, like it has to be like men addressing men on these issues, or like what do you think?
You want the truth?
I want the late night's truth.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really care who addresses it. I don't really care who gets rid of it. I don't really care if y'all talk to each other, if y'all, seek out help from other people to get the help. Because like I just gotta tell you for real, that's not really my issue. What's gonna happen is that if y'all don't get it together, this 9 is gonna get it together for you. And that's just that. It's just that. Like, I don't care who addresses it. I don't care who stops it. Like, you better stop it before I do. That's really just it. Y'all got to figure that out for yourselves. But like I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there.
Not Sean saying coming through with the op stopper. Whew. Okay. All right. Erica. Erica, the floor is yours.
Oh, I had something to say when we were talking about Andrew Tate. Hope it's okay that I can take it back there.
Wherever you want to go,
because okay, cool. This is the conversation part. It made me think about something. Is all about the like the portrayal of these men. They see someone like Tate, even though he's disgusting and vile, they see him as someone who has the money, the power, the strength. He's strong, and he has women like fawning over him. And so the men like him tell these boys and also tell grown men that the reason they aren't desired is because they aren't like them. So in order to have what I have, say the things, treat a woman like shit. Excuse me, Mama Jones. Treat a woman like poop, and she'll come to you. Don't show any emotion, and that's how you get them. What's the other crap that they say? Oh, women only want you for your money, so that's what you do. You dangle money as a carrot in front of them. So stuff like that. And what I think that we do is we spend a lot of time calling out, the bad actors, the people like Tate, and disproving their ideology. That we sometimes can be blind to like the men who are in fact, or could be the model of what male emotional intelligence looks like. So basically what an emotionally intelligent human being looks like, someone that's self-aware, that has emotional maturity, that understands not only their feelings, but also others and how to handle those in social situations. And so we kind of miss the other side of the spectrum. And I just think that the men in these boys and these young men's lives need to be louder about these things. They need to be louder about emotional intelligence and self-awareness. They need to let them know that it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel hurt. And it's not necessarily about how you got there, but how you handled it and how you came out better for it on the other side. So basically being able to process. So I'm going to hop off my soapbox, But I just think that men need to be louder. And one thing I really, really want to explore, hopefully, how the heck do we get to deconstruct? Because we've done a lot about how it manifests itself. But how do we get to deconstruct it?
And I was just about to say, I know you were gonna have that for Kay, and so I wanted to hop in real quick before you went to Kay, and because I saw Sean's hand up in the chat, and I saw Tabby raise their hand. So Sean, then Tabby, and then back to you, E.
I'm actually very glad you brought up Tate because that's something that, like his approach to masculinity and how toxic it is something that we talk about all the time. I do want to. I think it goes along with something that Santana said earlier, where you said a rising tide raises all ships. One of the big things, and one of the reasons why it's an appeal like that Tate has over especially young men, is because Tate tells young men, don't view yourself as a ship, view yourself as a house on the shore. So the rising tide will destroy the houses on the shore. So if you allow for that, then it will be the demise of you. That's what like fascism relies upon. Like if you allow for other people to like gain rights, you will lose your ability to control them because they will become more and more human, and you have to acknowledge other humans. That's like the breaking when Tate talks about the matrix all the time. That's like the breaking of the matrix, where it's like everyone views themselves as boats, but you're not a boat. You're better than a boat. You're a house, and you're on the shore. And if that ship rises, what's supposed to happen is that the sea is supposed to be out to sea, the houses are supposed to be on the shore, you're on the shore, and you're supposed to be overlooking the house. You're supposed to be the house overlooking the sea and all the boats. Anybody who's a boat is in the matrix. You are a house. You are not in the matrix. Break the matrix. That's what they sell them. And so that rising tide, I'm just using this as a metaphor, but that rising tide is going to destroy them. That's why it's a defense mechanism. That's why they're so upset when we do things like show them up and show them out.
I have a question I feel like I don't even want to ask, but I'm asking anyway because I'm very much, Sean, you know how much like I pay attention to politics and Donald Trump, even though I don't want to. Should I be listening to these people?
To who?
Andrew Tate and like some like the red pillars. Should I like because I didn't know the Matrix thing. I didn't know what they like. I don't know any of this. Should I be listening to them?
I mean, I always recommend your opposing like opposing theories and things like that. Like I read people and watch people who are opposition of me because it gives me a way to understand what it is that they feel and what they believe.
Yeah.
It gives me a good way to analyze it.
In order to combat it, you have to listen to them.
Yeah.
Like I have to be aware of Groper stuff. I have to be aware of red pill ideology. I have to be aware of so much just in case I come across it in that 11-year-old so that I can have the conversations from a point of knowledge. So yes, you do have to.
Okay. I know we're being serious here too, but it's also extremely funny. Like if you're watching, like when you watch Tate talk about just watch it. Just watch it one time and tell me he doesn't sound like a complete loser. Like he just sounds like he was being in high school. Like just look to it. I'm sorry, it's funny to me.
You're telling the truth, Sean.
Yeah. Tabby, Swan, Erica, Kay.
So just to piggyback over that, at first I was thinking, no, don't listen to these men. But yeah, they all make good points. Yes, we should be able to consume it. I just do it through the point of like listening to people analyze them. So I don't get just bombarded with like all of their talking points and not have like someone else there like breaking it down so I know I'm not crazy. And then I would also say there also needs to be an aspect where we are focusing on the more positive representations of men in media. Because while we can sit here and say, like, as a society, yes, men need to step up in people's day-to-day lives men in people's day-to-day lives are the ones that need to step up and teach them these things. when they reach a certain age, like middle school and high school, they're not just looking to the men in their families or in their immediate circle. They're looking for online representation they can see themselves in. And it goes back to the point I was mentioning earlier, where we don't really see that for younger generations these days. So I think, like, while we can always talk about people like Andrew Tate, it does also help to, like, talk about the good ones. Talk about what's this TikTok? This is a TikTok that I see all the time. It's a family TikTok. He always says welcome blacks because he's a black man and his family. He talks about how he raised his boys and his kids. Damn, I'm gonna find his name and I'll bring it when I'm bringing his name tomorrow when I come up. But like my generation, how about it? The way I see it is that my generation, when I say my generation, I'm specifically only really talking about people around my age. We grew up with High School Musical. We grew up with Ant Farm. We grew up with like just a lot of different medium. Sorry, I had a 20% thing. We grew up with High School Musical. We grew up with Ant Farm. We grew up with Wizard of Waverly Place. We grew up with like just a lot of media that would get to those our age that we got to see both positive representation of women and girls, but also positive representation of boys and men. That's So Raven, High School, yeah, like all these shows that showed families that I'm specifically talking about what I grew with. I'm pretty sure there are also I know there are older shows that like you could see this as well. But like, where is that now for this next high school generation, this next middle school generation coming in? Proud Family. Where is their Proud Family? Where is their That's So Raven? Where is their, because I don't typically see these shows for them. And again, they end up going to Twitch streamers, podcasters, stuff like that oftentimes aren't the best influences for them. Instead of having something geared towards them, like, and I feel like that should be something that we work on either improving as a society, or like just finding better ways or outlets for people to look at and talk to.
Yeah. Okay, so I know there's more hands going up as well, and guys want to jump into. I really want to. I really want to push this forward because we are getting towards the end of the live as well for the 3 hours. So I want to come to Swan, Erica, Kay, and then we'll open it up to the rest of the panels. But I see all the other hands. Go ahead, Swan.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I think it's very important that we do take in some of this content. I'll be honest, I think that as a society, we really did we dropped the ball when it came to red pill content and that content radicalizing so many people and then putting them on a path directly to the alt-right pipeline. The alt-right pipeline has always existed, right? But I think right now what we're combating is the fact that it's never turned off because it's in the palm of their hands, and it's in the palm of their hands at a very young age. So this is coming at them from all sides, right? And if you understand how the internet works, there's a content creator, I cannot remember his name, but he talks about Musk taking over the app that is formerly known as The Bird, right? And how there is so much content on there now that really pedestalizes the alt-right, like just that whole entire arena that is allowed. We're seeing it more on TikTok even. We're seeing it more on other social media apps. So you start off by in the gaming community, or you start off by taking in like gym content or whatever the case is, and the next thing you know, this person is sucked in, right? And they're there. And I do also want to emphasize the fact that it's only going to benefit cishet white men, right? But they're not the only ones being radicalized. One example I think I can think of is Charlie Kirk, and a lot of the things that he said. His debates were all over the internet, everywhere, on all platforms, right? And we were listening to a debate that he had when he talked about consent. And while he was speaking to a woman, he brought up a scenario that involved a frat party. He knew exactly who he was talking to. He looped them in right away, right? A frat party. He didn't just talk about a regular party. Then he talked about different things that he knew once he hooked them in,
different things that he knew would speak to them, to the ones that he wanted to reach. And at the very end of the debate, mind you, this woman said nothing wrong. She said you should ask for consent. It's romantic. You know, she was very firm with what she was saying. But by the end of that clip, to me, which was mortifying, was he said, "You are the reason. Women like you are the reason as to why men are going to the right." And they cheered him on. Everybody cheered him on. And this is something that I think we need to pay more attention to. We have to pay more attention to it. And I'm going to speak specifically to young Black men that are being radicalized by this, because it has increased their level of anti-Blackness and pedestalizing the very things that put a target on their backs in society. And again, women are falling victim to this too. Anybody can be radicalized by this. It's only going to be cishet white men that benefit from it, but it's everywhere. And I think that we dropped the ball when it came to understanding how bad this actually is. Even when we get into the discussion of groypers and Nick Fuentes having over 700,000 followers online who are constantly coming into our spaces, causing the most harm and the most violence. It's wild. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Okay, I don't want to speak too much. Erica, floor's yours.
Oh, yeah. I agree with so much. Unfortunately, we just have to digest that content, kind of like chew it and spit it out, just so we can know what it tastes like, you know? We can have those conversations. But I wanted to shift to Kay and talk a bit about the helping hands part, the deconstructing part, Kay. With your background, your experience, and all that you've done, um, how what steps can we take? Like, what can we do to help the adult men deconstruct from this ideology, from this red pill ideology, from exhibiting this male fragility? Like, what can we do, or what can they even do?
It does start with them too. But what we can do is a lot of things that were touched on very early on in parenting, in being involved in, your children's lives, not getting them secluded with their headphones. That's such a good point. The gaming systems, things like that. Just for the chat and for some of you I haven't met, I'm Kay, and I'm a physician, double board certified in psychiatry and internal medicine, and I work with a partner, and we see a lot of clients that are doing deconstruction or have been sent to us from corporate America that have lots of isms to deconstruct. So one of the things that, reaching out and talking is actually kind of what we were just talking about. It is knowing the enemy, and it is taking in some of that content. You don't have to take in copious amounts of it because it's so repetitive. Sean's absolutely right when she says it's hysterical, because it is. But taking so much in can be harmful for your own mental health. So there's also articles written by different scholars and psychiatrists, psychologists that talk about exactly what is in that content too, so you don't always have to just watch it. So it in general, when we, all of the points that have been brought up tonight have been so solid, but making sure that resources are available. And I noticed someone was really looking on low cost or no cost mental health services, and those are things that we really want to push out. I'm somebody who, my practice alone only sees low cost or no cost, and I have a large network that if pretty much every state, so I can always give resources. But when it comes to it, we have to destigmatize it. And as much as we're defunding schools, we have to put mental health into schools very young and start that process of deconstructing before we really hit the kids that are hit, like before they actually are affected. Starting K through 12, or K through 5. I mean, really starting young. So it is super important, and there's so many resources that I'd like to throw out. I'm gonna make a list and just give them to Santana for his link tree, so that people will have them.
Awesome.
Be
We
super
kind of
awesome.
touched on that last week with the conversation with Brett. Speaking of Brett, welcome in, Brett Raid. Also, you got a Live Raid earlier. So shout
I
out to the
missed it.
Live
Sorry.
Raid.
Shout out Liv. Shout out to Brett.
Yeah, but with that being said, we touched on it last week when we spoke about social emotional learning and how we still have it in schools, but it's not as prevalent as it was in like the 90s due to funding cuts. So I definitely agree with you, Kay, that having those tools available to children definitely would help and would be of benefit to help them with processing emotion. I think a lot that we see within children is that they don't know how to regulate their emotions, and they don't have anyone teaching them how to.
And being taught that they're not even, valid. That anger is something that you shouldn't feel, or that's the only thing that's acceptable to feel is anger.
Yes.
Not to feel sad, not to feel, where all of the emotions are valid. And especially when we see like depression in kids, and especially in the demographics between genders, we see that adult men, their internalized depression turns into anger. It turns into violence.
Yes.
Where women typically, this is always typically, recede. They're more, in bed or, just staying secluded. But outwardly, men tend to be more aggressive, and that's where we see a lot of that cycle of EV and violence. So, and speaking like to adults, like on the app, I have a really hard time. I give you all the most credit. I see Sean, I see Swan, Alicia, I've seen you, Adorna. I see you have these discussions online with people, and for me, I have to be very, I can't do what you do with people like that. I don't have that temperament online because I don't think that the facades that are being brought to the surface are always true. So I much more better, like, for me in person, having those sessions. But I thank you so much for the amount of labor that you all put in to have conversations. I try to do it mostly in person, but I think those are the conversations that are really important, talking to the people that are closest to us, and even if they're difficult, because that right to comfort doesn't exist for white people. It doesn't exist for white cis men. It just doesn't, it should not exist. And that's one of the big things that I think they sit in, and we sit in, especially white women, because as soon as we're uncomfortable, the lashing out happens, and you all know what happens, the resumes and all of that. So, it's just that cycle that has to be broken somehow.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Kate. I definitely agree with you, Kay. You make a very fair point, and I'm pretty sure that all of us, especially Black women on the panel, have experienced it. But yeah, so Santana, I'm gonna pass the ball back to you.
Yeah. So this is what I want to do really quick, because I saw there was a couple of hands, and we are actually pretty much at t-shirt time. I know that there's a lot of people that had a lot more that they wanted to say. There's people in the request that did not get an opportunity to speak. There's a whole bunch, but the wonderful thing is this is only night one. It's only night one. We still have tomorrow night. We still have Wednesday night. We have a lot of time, and I'm going to try to continue to get more people in. I got a couple ideas as far as a couple other things we're going to do, but I want to read these off really quick, and then I want to open it up to the panel, and I want to start with Adorna. We're going to go Adorna, Swan, Tabby, Sean, Alicia, Amanda, Kay, and then I'll end with Erica. But I want to come around to you all, and I guess to kind of one, get any closing thoughts that you may have, but also two, get your feedbacks or thoughts as far as how we can start to move forward with helping. I know how I need to help, right? And I even more so I understand what Sean said and the whole premise about like men need to be the ones doing this, but like what can you actually or what do you actually want to uh have the people, the men, the young men, whoever, like what message do you want to convey to them or what way can we actually reach them? So I'm going to start with you, Adorna, right after I read these off. Guys, Debbie's in the chat for Chandra. Chandra sent $4 on my hot girl money. Who sent $4 to the donation? W's in the chat for Eli. Eli sent $5 to the donation, and W's in the chat for Jessica, who sent $20 for the donation. Said mutual aids, planting seeds, dropping knowledge. Absolutely, guys. Last time I'm going to call this out for tonight, but we are fundraising for two wonderful cause. One, men's mental health for Movember, and number two, for RAIN, which is a organization that supports survivors of DV. And so all the funds that we raise through the pay links tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday night goes directly to those two calls. Would you say something?
Yeah. Hey, let's go to Amanda first because she has to drop.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. But if you guys, if any of you can help, please consider doing so. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all the pay links in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks for You. Best way to actually support this actual cause that we are raising funds for. I'll put the other information up on the screen as we jump to Amanda. I saw Alicia, so let's actually go Amanda, Alicia, Adorna, and then swing back around. Amanda, floor is yours.
Hey, sorry, I just have to get up super early to get the kids to school.
I understand. Thank you.
I appreciate all of you and everything that you guys have shared. As far as like moving forward and helping hands, even though I did say that it's on men to have these conversations with other men, and I'm talking about adults, when we're talking about our kids, I think it's really important now for both our sons and our daughters to instill like a really strong sense of self with them at as young of an age as possible, that their feelings are valid and how to articulate those feelings and celebrate that with our kids. So when they do get to that age where they're starting to struggle, you know, that prepubescent puberty age where they're starting to struggle with a little bit of identity and where they fit and their place with their friends, they already know who they are. They know who they are, they know who they can come to, they know what adults are safe that they can have these conversations with. Because I mean, and I've seen it with my son. My son is very, very hard to talk to, you know, and then that's something that I didn't do as a parent. I obviously did something where he cannot speak to me the way that my daughters can, and that's something that I continue to work on with him. So make sure that you're instilling strong sense of self with your kids, and you're fostering that relationship as much as you can, because it really does start with us as parents.
Yeah.
And I love you guys. I gotta go sleep.
Thank you so much for coming up, Amanda. I really appreciate you, and wise words. Absolutely. It starts with us. Thank you, Amanda. Alicia.
Yeah, I actually had something like that. I can't remember. I'm sorry. Everyone was speaking, and I think, well, Tabby. It was Tabby who was talking about it. That I really wanted to put into perspective as far as like the time jump. Today, getting ready for winter, getting the girls, like I have an 11 and 4-year-old, getting the girls' clothes together and stuff like that, and my husband calls me and says that our oldest had their clothes requests and all that stuff, and he said, "Yeah, from Fashion Nova." And I stopped because I couldn't imagine my 11-year-old wearing something from Fashion Nova. I haven't shopped at Fashion Nova in years anyways, but I'm like, she's 11. Why is she shopping at Fashion Nova? And he said, well, where else is she going to shop? And I realized, like, for both boys and girls, there are no more stores for children. They got rid of Toys R Us. They got rid of, what is it, KB Toys. They got rid of Payless. Like, there's no more Limited 2. There's no more children's anything. And when you look at television, there's no more children's shows. Kids are on YouTube, they're watching other kids playing with toys if they're younger, and then when they get older, they're watching people doing video games. There are no more children, like the outlets for children. And I think that that's where they got in, where this red pill, where they got in, because even when you think of children and how they're behaving and how they're speaking, it's because that's the opening. Like, I mean, you look at every great leader in the past, and when I say great, I don't necessarily mean that they were doing great things, but they had the ability to captivate audiences. Because we can say, sure, Dr. King or Brother Malcolm X, but even the Mustache Man enlisted children to be young Yahtzees. It's the same narrative. So I think that, like, as young parents or even as older parents, I think that we need to start stepping in and making sure that we're putting that proper influence to, one, allow children to be children so that they can gain those good comprehensive skills, so they're not just blindly following somebody from a position of authority. But we have to, like, and I know it's difficult, money's tight, the economy is horrible, we are working and we are tired, but we have to step in and be that barrier to protect our kids and make sure that they're getting the right information.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's the thing that I've been hearing all night on this panel, and I'm so happy that it's being said, because a lot of time other people think that, like, oh, in order to address these issues with our kids, we need to go to these people and do this, and these people to do that, but I think it's directly engaging our kids and looking to solve those within the home first, and then going out for that, going out from there. So that was absolutely a great point. Thank you so much for that, Alicia. Also, did they close Children's Place? Have you checked Children's Place?
So Children's Place doesn't have clothes up to her size anymore. So
Okay.
Children's, yeah, like it's super difficult. Like even our 4-year-old, she's in 5 and 6T, and they have like infant clothes at the ones that I've gone to. But I went shopping for her, like, and I swore off the Sheen, however you say it.
Yeah.
I just, to try to minimize the amount of harm that I'm doing to the global South. But
Right.
like, there's like, I don't shop at Target anymore. Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
But I try to do the small kids boutiques that, small businesses and supporting small businesses. But
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it's just interesting. I really wish that we had a better environment. I miss Smart Guy. I put in the comments Johnny Tsunami and all, like, just the kids stuff that allowed children to be children.
Exactly. And Alicia, thank you so much for coming up and spending time with us tonight.
No problem.
You have been absolutely amazing, and I appreciate you so much.
Love you guys.
Love you more. Thank you.
Have a
Adorna.
good night, Alicia.
Adorna, floor is yours. Any closing thoughts, and then also how do we fix it? Matter of fact, no, that's your question, Adorna. I need you to fix all of this. Like, I know you can do it, so I need you to fix it.
Yeah, I think that however early it is that you think your kid would be exposed to this, it's earlier. Whatever age you think it is, it's earlier than that, right? So keeping that in mind, and then I think that we should pretty much find ways to challenge the messaging without challenging your kid's identity, right? So like acknowledging that what they're hearing might feel empowering and easy to lean into, but then trying to get them to understand and listen to the idea that you're not challenging who they are or who they want to be. You're just challenging